Number 1 Iron Age Booty Daddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. What's going on, Daniel? What the hell? He's already drunk. We're not even 11 seconds into the show and he's hammered.
No, I'm not. I have not yet begun to drink.
Really, I have not. And speaking of drinks, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. It's
look at that.
That's a wonderful, wonderful glass that you can purchase yourself from Mr. Daniel B. Riley.
Yes, epic merch.
And that is a blood orange blonde ale, and that is absolutely. Oh yeah. That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Man, it's going to be an awesome freaking night. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. But before I guess I get into it, I have to do the YouTuberisms. You guys know how much I hate YouTuberisms. They suck, but I have to do them. Guys, I got to say this. I did a thing a little while back because my community called me gay a whole lot, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you should do merch." And I was like, "I don't know about it." And they're like, "Yeah, well, it's because you're gay. That's why you're not doing merch." And
merch
so I started a merch store. I did that thing. I started a merch store. So yes, that's what we're doing. Also, if you guys are unaware, if you guys would like to join the A Drink with Crazy community, which has just a ton of creative people over there. Also meme lords, lots of meme. In fact, all of the creative people are also meme lords. So, but if you guys would like to join the A Drink with Crazy community, I welcome everybody to go over to my Gilded server, join over there, and you guys can hang out with everybody who is a part of this community, who's sharing their creative projects or just talking and just being absolutely insane. It is completely ridiculous. And before I get to introducing my fantastic co-hosts and our awesome guest this week, we have to introduce the most important guest of the week, and that's you guys down in the chat. What's going on, chat? And so down on somebody got over to Rumble, real quick. So over on Rumble, Skunk's Workshop jumped in real quick, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you got merch?" I'm like, yes, I now have A Drink with Crazy merch. Sweatshirts just in time for the fall. If you had weather like I did today, it was 38 degrees and raining today. It was not fun. But I got sweat. Yeah. No, I don't wish. I hate the cold with a passion. I've worked in the cold for way too many years of my life. I hate it. But yeah, there's t-shirts, there's sweatshirts, well, I guess I shouldn't say sweatshirts. There's long sleeve shirts, hoodies. I have some absolutely fantastic pint glasses. Not as wonderful as this pint glass that you can get from Mr. Daniel P. Riley, but they're still pretty good. I've got some coffee mugs over there as well that you guys can go check out. So if you guys so feel the need, go check out the Teespring that I launched a few weeks back. I have seen a few people post on over on Twix that they've received stuff and in my Gilded as well, and that just it really makes me take a step back to be like, wow, that people want to support and rep a Drink with Crazy. It's unbelievable. Thank you all so much. And over on the YouTube side, we've got Horizon Talker. What's going on, man? David Del Cole, how are you doing? Frederick Guimont, what's going on? Evely Music, how are you? Caro Brown, she's not going to be here tonight, but she just left a like and a comment to help increase the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for that. Tim Allen, what's going on, man? 10 Cage, how you doing? Kat Racha, that sounds familiar. Sadly, she is not able to be here tonight, but she is I believe she is the force of nature behind our guest that helps him with his projects. So, Swift Sword Rush, what's going on, man? Raving Dad Gaming, how are you? What's going on? Herman P. Hunter, the Lore Forge, or as we call him here, the Hedge.
Hello,
Lord,
Hedge.
It is the Hedge. The Lord Otter, what's going on? Oh, good Lord. Periopsis Press. Hey, Katie, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
Hi, Katie.
Danny Diego, what's going on, man? Eric Wag, how are you, sir? Ubison. Guilty Gearhead, how are you doing? Studio 38. Hey, I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Hopefully you're doing well. I haven't seen you in a hot minute, dude. Oxen W, what's going on? Resonant 1. We've got Niram Nawa. And this one here. What's up, crazy peeps? Launching Pumpkids in 5 minutes. That is over on Michael Bancroft's channel. Pumpkids, comic for kids. I'm down. I love it. I wish if I were not doing this show, I would be like begging Bancroft to let me in that show so I could do my own like mini interview on his show. I would totally do it. I'm like, John, I'm like, Mike, you gotta let me do this thing. Rocky, the Black Dragon. What's going on, man? How are you doing? That is a new name to the chat. Jay Ishiro Finney. Ishi, you're double dipping. Wait.
I think you're muted, bud.
He is muted. He's muted on StreamYard.
Oh, okay. Oh, hello, everyone. I'm Jay Shirofini, author and alien in a human suit. And we're here to talk about how feminism has destroyed everything.
In a minute, don't jump the gun. We still got to say hello to the chat. I just wanted to tell you you're double dipping. Jersey, what's going on, man? You know what double dipping is, Ishi?
I've heard it in different usages. It usually means you're dual promoting or getting twice the money or...
And on my show, double dipping, there is a
whenever
triple
you
dip
have
as well.
the shared bowl of salsa, you know.
Yeah, no, we're not doing it. No, double dipping is where you're on the show and you're also in the chat. What the fuck? Don't
I'm not supposed to do that? I can jump out.
No, you can. There are some people that triple dip. When I had 3 chats going plus the live stream, we actually have had people on the show that like they did the quadruple dip, and I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm nuking a chat. So, oh good Lord, scrolling through the chat. Iron Cast Knight, what's going on, man? My dog stepped on a bee. That's fucking hilarious. Oh, what's going on? The Ultimate Kahuna, man. How are you doing? For $1.99, says Rocky, the African American Dragon. Oh, God. And you guys have already started. Fiona Wolf, what's going on? How are you? And I hope that I caught everybody down in the chat to say hello. But we are going to move on to say hello to a man who is much too busy for his own freaking good and will build an empire one of these days. And I'm glad that he's here first because I could be like, hey, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say hello to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who is building the Iron Age on top the Anvil magazine, that is. Richard, what's going on, man? How you been this last week?
Very good. I've been packing a lot of mailers and trying to get all of issue number 2 out the door. So
There you go.
It's been a busy week, but very good. I think I should be done this weekend. So
Nice.
I've got the international packages en route towards a critical blast, and
Ooh.
I
I need to touch base with Critical Blast.
Yeah, they're great people, but yeah, so there's all sorts of stuff going on there. I've been trying to do a little bit of work on the site, but mostly it's just been packing mailers.
But yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah, I saw that, Jersey. I hope you enjoy it. I mean, I love the way that issue number 2 came out. It was the way that I wanted in terms of my experience with the printers. That's how I was hoping things would go with the first issue. And so I have zero complaints with these guys. Very easy to work with.
So one owner, one printer, no 2 printers, 5 owners, or 10 owners, or whatever the last one was.
Some guy that's been running a print shop, and I think a couple of other small businesses for many a year now.
Okay, so it's not like some dude running it out of his garage or something, or whatever happened last.
Yeah, more like a warehouse in a part of town that I didn't quite realize was. It apparently has a reputation that I didn't fully know about. But
Richard,
by Bissonnette Street in Houston, which
Richard, there's a word for that. It's called in the ghetto.
Well, this is beyond the ghetto. This is like a special sector of the ghetto for the oldest profession, shall we say?
Yeah, that's
Special
the dark
ghetto.
recesses of the ghetto.
Yeah,
it's the special ghetto. I'm calling it the special ghetto from now on.
That one particular alley that everybody looks at but doesn't quite acknowledge exists.
Yeah, and all the street signs are in Chinese. That's interesting. But, and then I got a rep since it came in this week. I got a new shirt from Eric Wag. He has a couple of shirts, and I was going to drop the link in chat, but I saw Eric in chat. So send me the link to your actual Teespring store, because I couldn't find it immediately from your profile, and I'll drop it in chat. So
awesome, man. Oh yeah,
There's some fun shirts.
Good things are happening. Oh man, it's so hard to segue from that. So generally,
He's gonna try.
I am gonna try. Well, because it's so much more interesting to be like, are you a writer? Are you trying to be a writer? Do you not know how to get that story out of it? Is your story afraid to come out of your head because sadly you have beaten it and thrown it into a closet and only feed it once every other day? Well, never you mind. If you need to rescue that story, get it out of your head and get it onto the page, call Mr. Daniel P. Riley. He will be that story's best friend, and he will help it get onto the page where it can be loved by all to see. Don't beat your stories anymore. Call Daniel P. Riley. Love your stories. That's Daniel P. Riley at whimsyland.org. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel, how are you doing?
Not a bad infomercial.
I hear
Getting better and better every week.
I hear the Sarah McLachlan head. Music every time I don't know why I started doing that. It made sense in my brain.
For fun. That's all that matters. I'm doing great. Just working on projects. I've been getting things back to clients that I've worked with through the course of September, and getting started on the new ones for October, including a certain Black Crown.
Why is the chair a different color?
Because it's angry.
That makes no sense. Chairs don't get angry.
It's the seat of power. But unfortunately, as I said last week, it's become the seat of darkness. And I'm blaming Stormcrow.
I hate you so much right now. It's a different chair. The Ultimate Kahuna for $9.99 says Ishiro Finney, as a divorced man who pays high-end alimony and child support for children I take care of a majority of the time. What do you mean feminism has ruined our current culture? Like what? Oh shit. All right, and with that intro,
Getting the ball rolling.
the ultimate kahuna just I can't segue better than that. I mean, yeah, Ishi, what do you mean feminism has ruined our current culture? Like what?
Well, for what is it? But at least 30 years, we've been hearing about, women need to be put in charge of everything. At least from the 70s, we've had that. So, well, more than 30 years.
I know, right? Don't.
Yeah, geez.
I still want to say the 80s is like, is like, 15 years ago, and I'm just like, no,
Yeah.
it's not.
You start to realize, oh my God, I'm getting old. I'm going to die. But no, I mean, since the 70s, we've been hearing on and on about how once we get women into positions of power, everything would be great. How everything would balance out, and well, we gave them a go at it, and what do we have?
I heard some hopeful news. I was listening to one of Tim Pool's videos today, and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, he's like, here's the thing. He's like, feminism's on its way out. It's like, because all these women, they're not going to want to be owners of CEOs anymore when they realize they could just go do adult content online, like on OnlyFans, and make money there. He's like, it's all going to balance out. Men are still going to control all the corporations, but, just a lot more women are going to become whores online. And I was like, that's a hopeful thought.
Oh, well, the thing is...
I'm just going to drink.
I'm going to have fun with this conversation tonight. Ishi, before we get too far into it.
All right.
Because the super chat was just too good. Introduce yourself, man, and tell us how your week has been, and tell us where you come from, man.
Well, I am Jay Ishirofini, author and alien in a human suit, coming from the planet coming from a planet near Zeta Reticuli. No, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I'm one of those poor, unfortunate people who had to flee California because liberalism killed it. And I had to get out of there before it became Lord of the Flies.
Ooh.
But I'm now happily relocated into the desert of Arizona, and I've had a very good week continuing to write. I am someone who's been in the comics industry since 2006, best known for my series Case File Arkham, which is Lovecraftian horror mixed with detective noir.
Just covered that on Comic Shop Wednesday.
Yes, we did.
Covered Case File Arkham?
Yeah, we just went over Case File Arkham on Comic Shop Wednesday.
Yep.
Oh,
In fact, you were that was one of the votes.
Mm-hmm.
You were one of the top 4 votes for the week.
I need to watch that.
Yeah,
And almost my vote. Almost.
It was, and it
was a really, really cool project that kind of blew us all away.
It was, and it's an animated project that is it's an animated movie that's coming out, and it's really, really cool. But no, yours made the top 4 this last week, and I believe, as long as this doesn't screw up my audio because of my RAM capacity, let me see. There's actually, so guys, if you guys want to know,
You're breaking up.
I knew it was going to do that. Okay. I knew it was going to do that because I pulled up Gilded. But so John Bernouk goes over every single week on Comic Shop Wednesday, and he pulls all of the links from the top 4 from the top 4 that we vote on Comic Shop Wednesday, and he updates the Comic Shop Wednesday forum every single week. So if you guys are interested to see all of the projects that have caught our eye basically since the beginning of Comic Shop Wednesday, or maybe even before, I don't know how far back he went, join the Gilded and go to the Creator Spotlight forum discussion, not the text discussion, but the forum discussion. And he is updating that Comic Shop Wednesday forum every single week. And he's just doing that because he wanted to, and he has time. And that really helps me out. So, John, if you're out there, if you're listening, dude, thank you for that, because Ishi's book is there. Ishi's book is going to be there this week. I had no idea that was you.
That was project I was best known for until recently, and as I like to describe it, it is everything we loved about 90s era Vertigo. It's definitely hard-boiled noir where men are men, women are gorgeous, and hell beasts from the abyss do not come with a trigger warning, is the way I like to put it.
It's such a great sell, man.
Not even my genre, but I was like, ooh, I actually think I'm gonna pick this up this weekend.
We actually had a couple people in the chat say that. They were like, wait a minute, this isn't my typical thing. They're like, I'm
But
gonna
it
look
just
at
looks
this.
really good.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic, dude. It looks so freaking good. But I mean, so obviously, okay, we've got a lot to cover tonight. We've got a lot to go over. We obviously have this fantastic book that you guys and just so everybody knows, they did send me a review copy. I am like 4 pages in because I'm awesome. But it was actually those 4 pages that made me completely rethink what the project was and decide to set up this interview. So, and I'm freaking loving what you guys are doing. So, Ishi, man, tell us, where do you get your start in all this? Obviously, you've been in comics. You like, where do you get your start? Like, was it young Ishi? Was it middle Ishi? Like, where does this all begin?
Well, through college, I worked in the music industry. I was at a record label called 21st Circuitry Records, industrial and techno music. I did a lot of
Nice.
music journalism at the time, and I came to the realization that no matter how good I wrote my articles, I was always writing about somebody else's art. Had a horrible span through my...
that. But that's all my channel is talking about other people's art.
Well, there's a need for that. There's absolutely a need, and I've gone back to doing that too, because people need to know about good projects. Because we're talking too much about the bad, depressing stuff Disney's producing.
Yep.
I'd rather hear about Iron Age. But there was a rough period through my 20s, and I don't know if we even really want to get into that. But at age 28, I came to the realization I hadn't published anything creative and decided, you know what? No, I'm going to get published. And 5 years later, it finally happened. And in those 5 years, I taught myself how to do comics, worked my ass off, and started at a company called Bloodfire with a book called Utopiates, which is available on Amazon as well. 01 printed it as a graphic novel. Did a book called Titanium Rain, which is now available as an audio drama on Audible. And that was kind of a fighter pilot, futuristic fighter pilot story. Then did another project after that that just never really caught on. World War Kaiju. And that was apparently just a little too weird for readers at the time. The plot was taking one concept. What if the Manhattan Project, instead of creating an atomic bomb, created Godzilla? What if splitting the atom created atomic monsters, and the entire Cold War was about monsters, not missiles? And just how awry it went.
That sounds really fun.
But I think we're fast forwarding
One
up
of my
to
favorite things.
current book, Boobs of Steel. Because it devoured 2 years of my life.
You need to put your foot up.
So with so that was so interesting is because Kat reached out to me, and when Kat reached out to me, they were like, hey, we're promoting this book, and I was like, well, I know, hey, it's, you know, it's Boobs of Steel, and I was like, shoot, like, we'd love to send you a review copy. I tend not to do review copies, full transparency, like digitally, because reading a book on my phone or my tablet, I like having the physical thing in my hands. I that's just how I am. If I'm going to read someone's dumbass tweet, yeah, that's fine. It belongs on my phone. But something that, you know, that people poured their heart and souls into, whether it's good or bad, like, I'd rather have the paper copy. So, one, it's hard for me to do that. Two, the digital copies, because they're not physically, like, in my house, right, I tend to forget to read them, right? Because, like, when there's a copy of a book that I need to read, I leave it somewhere that I see every single day. And it's like, oh, I need to get to that, you know, and when I have time, I see it and I get to it. And so that's why I was like, well, I don't know about this. Kat was very persistent. And I was like, all right, I tell you what, yeah, you know what, send it to me. I will do my best. That's also part of the reason I'm only 4 pages in. But I picked it up and I read it and I was like, wait a minute. Wait, what is this? What is this book about? And it because Boobs of Steel, like especially with a lot of the projects that I've been seeing lately, I had my own vision in my head or version in my head of what I thought that was going to be. And you are basically chronicling the absolute evisceration of femininity in our pop culture.
Exactly. That is exactly what it's about.
And that's something that, I mean, so I have 3 daughters, 1 son, and I firmly believe that it is highly important for my daughters to understand what it is to be feminine and for my son to understand what it is to be masculine, right? And I believe, and they're just destroying that stuff. And when you come out, and in the first few pages, you do the compare and contrast between Bruce Banner as the Hulk and Wonder Woman, and the different physical aspects. And obviously, it's Boobs of Steel. So you mentioned the boobs, you know, things like that. And I see what you did there, and I really liked that. Because you're like, because that's been the biggest thing, right? Oh, you can't have boobs anymore, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, because Bruce Banner got big and muscly and strong, and Wonder Woman, she got, you know, she was beautiful and sensual and smart and athletic and like the exact counterpoint to the man. And I loved that. How did you get into this? Like, this book is so freaking intriguing to me. I'm actually sad. I need to actually buy the physical copy because that way it's in my house and it reminds me to read it.
Well, it started as that chapter you're describing as just being an article I was writing about the fact that in around 2009, after the big flood of new comics fans came in with Big Bang Theory and suddenly nerds were cool, we got this flood of women, and the first thing they went after was the Amazonian archetype, and there was the constant, well, boobs are bad, boobs are bad. You know, no one ever said why. It was just taken that was a horrible thing. You know, we got to ban Power Girl because of boobs. We've got to ban Lara Croft because of boobs. We got to change. Yes, horrible. And it just kept going and going and going until we're here today, where not only is it, you know, we're complaining about characters having breasts at all. We're having people complain about people looking feminine at all, women looking like women. And that was kind of my point, was that how did we go from, you know, this kind of almost worship of the feminine strength? You know, the superheroine was feminine strength, and that she was hyper feminine because, of course, why would what else would Wonder Woman look like? But if she is the embodiment of feminine power, of course she's going to look hyper feminine. How we went from that all the way to teenage girls cutting their breasts off and trying to look masculine.
And that is something, and that is something that is staggering to me. It's a conversation that my wife and I have in the house so much. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's, you know, we're like, but wait a minute, why is this bad? You know, because we think about back when we were kids. Because my wife and I, we vet everything that our children watch, right?
Good.
And my wife and I look at a lot of things, and you know, there are some cartoons even back in the day, or even some anime back in the day that we would watch, and we're just like, wow. Like, as parents, we're just like, that chick is literally almost naked, and I'm like, but I was watching it on Toonami when I was like 8 years old. It was fine, right? And nobody batted an eye. And when I was a kid, I'm like, well, I never noticed she was half naked. I just, oh, pretty girl on screen, like, whatever, back to the action, right? And it was just because it was just a feminine feature on the screen, and somewhere along the lines, I think, I don't know what it was, but they really wanted to go after good femininity and like
Right.
really trying to promote the bad femininity, which is like the OnlyFans stuff, right? Like you're not allowed to have boobs in a superhero movie, but these women are empowered online to go and do the nasty things that they do in the videos online.
Well,
And where the hell did that start?
Well,
actually,
Wait,
it's interesting you
feminism?
bring that up because although it doesn't really get covered too much in this book, the next book it will cover it quite a bit. One of the things that started the article was my wife's continued complaint of why is it that whenever there is a busty woman, she either has to be an idiot or a bitch or a whore. Why is it the ultra feminine woman has to be one of those three things? Why can't she just be the effective? I like to bring up She-Ra, the old She-Ra in the 80s.
Yeah.
She was hyper feminine. She didn't wear a lot of clothes. But you know what? You know why that was kids appropriate is because she was a sexually mature woman, not doing sexual things. Never did the camera was never looking down her cleavage or looking at her. It was just portraying a person.
Yeah.
Yep.
And somehow we went from a sexually mature adult being a heroic woman to a gender confused little girl who turns into a man and is engaging in unhealthy sexual relationships with the new She-Ra.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there is definitely a war against healthy femininity. There is a real hatred of it. And I can get into where I found that led. But what began as an essay turned into a 3-book series because I fell down a rabbit hole and it was just, I was at right place, right time. And I'm like, all the trans stuff started happening. And I was seeing all these characters getting turned into weird, non-gendered, amorphous things.
I've referred
Along
to
that
them as
line-
chimeras on my channel. Sorry, Richard, go on.
I was going to say along those lines. Do you feel like there is a mutual attack on both masculinity and femininity, in not necessarily, maybe not in exact equal parts, but if those things are being attacked, what is like in your mind, or as you would put forth or propose in the book?
Well,
what is supplanting those things, if anything?
I hate to bring up again the second book because we're talking about the first 250
You're not legally allowed to buy the second book without having first bought at least 3 copies of the first book and read them.
Well, the second book isn't out yet, but I get into we're erasing women. We're not allowed to even define adult human female is now offensive apparently. But in the world of the woke people, they will always need men because you need the devil. They're always going to hate men, so he's always going to have a place in their world.
It's true.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the way that this ties in, again, the way that Boobs of Steel ties in, is while I'm telling women, hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being feminine. You can enter masculine spaces. You can be daring, heroic. You can be all these things and retain your femininity, just like Red Sonja and She-Ra and Wonder Woman. You don't have to lose your femininity to be an action hero.
For instance, and I actually didn't know. I guess she was an action hero. My mom was a cop.
Yeah.
And then my mom worked her way up from, doing speeding tickets to being a parole officer for the state of Colorado. My mom has told me flat out the times that she's gone in to do a bust and there were more weapons and guns on the table than she thought was going to be there because it was just a parole bust. And the things that my mom has told me that she's had to do as an officer, I'm like, wait, no, she is. My mom was an action hero. Not, we're not talking Sylvester Stallone, like getting dropped off in like Vietnam or nothing, but my mom was. She was a real life action hero. And my mom is absolutely feminine, always has been. And the idea do you guys remember that stupid, I think it was a Nike commercial years and years ago. and it was the guy and the girl, and they were like doing the same things, and it had the song as like the anything you can do, I can do better. Do you guys remember that stupid ass commercial?
Yep.
And it was like, and that was back in like what, the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think about that commercial now, and I realize that the seeds of this stuff, they're old. They're old. Like this is, we are seeing the final incarnation of the destruction of femininity in the West. You know, at least in pop culture and media.
Well, two answers to that. First off, the other thing I was going to say is in Boobs of Steel, the other thing I point out is that I'm telling young men it's perfectly fine to be attracted to or admire Lara Croft or Red Sonja, Wonder Woman, Power Girl, that there's nothing wrong with appreciating these characters. You're not committing some crime against all women because you like Power Girl. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I mean the old Power Girl, not this crap we're getting now. But where is this? You know, we're seeing the end game of this. You know, this end result of all this really unhealthy crap. That is one of the reasons it became a book. Was the hole just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I mean, I could get into the weird stuff I found out about the suffragist movement and all that, but you can read the book.
There's some interesting stuff behind that too.
Right.
I probably haven't gone as far as you have, but like it's so crazy to see all this.
Yeah, the suffragists were not nearly as heroic as we're always told. They were in fact kind of nuts. But where I found the real start point for this, if I had to pin it down anywhere, 1954, do you remember Frederick Wortham, Seduction of the Innocent, nearly destroyed American comics?
No.
You don't know this story?
No. This is news to me, at least.
This is,
It sounds familiar, but I'm 45 and I probably have forgotten.
I'm not an old, so.
Well, it just kind of was for years. I mean, it was kind of comics legend. It was just something that if you read comics, you knew. And that was that in the 1950s, there was this guy, Frederick Wortham, who published a book called The Seduction of the Innocent that was claiming that comic books were turning women or little girls into prostitutes and boys into psychopathic killers, and it was doing all this horrible stuff. And that's why comics needed to be regulated and banned, and that's where the Comics Code Authority.
That's where the Comics Code came from. Okay, yes, I do know about this.
And the story we're always told is that it was a conservative Christian. It was some Bible thumper that did this. Was the story that was always told. In my research, I found it was a totally different story. That wasn't the case. Riley. You actually know.
Now that you're talking about it, I'm starting to remember, yes.
Truth is, it was Frederick Wortham was neither Christian nor conservative. Frederick Wortham was a Marxist through and through. And he wasn't Christian either. He was actually very, very left-leaning. He was a German Jew who had fled the Holocaust, lived safely in New York, but after the war had passed, he had decided, well, you know what? I think that this country that's shielded me is probably the next country that'll go fascist, so I better do something about it. And I think the first thing is, we need to ban all violence and sexuality from TV and comics and radio, because that makes fascists. And you look into the things he hated, top of the list, he was saying that the images of these sexually mature women were giving girls eating disorders and body issues. All the way in 1954. That
sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's where a lot of that came from.
And it was amazing to find out that it was all the same crap we're hearing now. Anyone who questioned Wortham, he called them a Nazi, said that they were a fascist, and that that is the only reason they would disagree with them. It was all the same stuff. And it nearly destroyed the comics industry. It just barely slipped by. He said the most dangerous character in Western media was Wonder Woman because of the message it sent to girls. I thought that was interesting. And then again,
especially that Wonder Woman of that time, very, very different than even the '90s Wonder Woman. There was a lot of girl boss Wonder Woman in the '90s with the Justice, which I recognized it, but it wasn't too far gone. But the Wonder Woman back in the '50s and was I mean, essentially was just
Technically,
female
it was.
Superman.
Yeah, but technically it was in the respect that she wore essentially a leotard and a breastplate of sorts. And at the time, the the liberation movement hadn't happened yet. So there was a lot of rampant modesty in culture. So having a woman so revealed was considered to be in poor taste culturally. And that's what he was sort of focused on, was that if you make this powerful female character that young women can see as a potential role model, and that female character is wearing, what we in nowadays would consider to basically be gym wear.
Mm-hmm.
But back then it was unheard of. So
no, absolutely not.
terrifying.
I will wholeheartedly disagree. Have you ever seen the movie White Christmas?
Yes.
Okay. The dance number that the actress did, and I can't, the blonde woman did, she's wearing a lot less than what Wonder Woman was wearing.
The difference in that regard is that entertainment was considered a separate thing at that point. It wasn't part of culture. It was considered to be totally fanciful, and there were people who had issues with that too. But the average citizen of that time believed that women should not be so revealed.
Very much. I mean, this is also during the time period that, when Elvis, shook his hips on television, they decided they would never, televise Elvis.
They called that sexually suggestive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a very different time, but also at the same time, too, you look at the cultural Marxists that were trying to take it over, and that because the funny thing is Marxists always know how to play upon the Puritanism of other people. And I don't say that negatively. I think there are a lot of people that they want to live a very pure life, and Marxists have a weird way of sneaking in there and using that against people.
I actually even found an article. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but it was by someone who did a lot of writing on comics, who was writing a very glowing praise of Wortham for using America's prudish morals to slip communist policy in.
Yep.
And I thought that was interesting.
That's neat.
The other thing, he also claimed that Superman and Wonder Woman were also white supremacists and nationalists, is another claim he made.
The Ubermensch concept.
Yeah. Don't you love how all these modern day Marxists think that they're being so revolutionary? It's like, guys, you can go back and you're not new. You're literally spouting something that somebody spouted 50 years ago. Or no, well, more than that now, 70 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing I was going to say is that I found that really what it is Wonder Woman's kind of a cultural touchstone in a sense, that she was considered the most dangerous character in print by Wortham in the 50s. Then in the 70s, when Gloria Steinem wanted Wonder Woman to be their mascot for the feminist movement and put her on the cover of Ms. Magazine, that was so divisive that it split the movement forever, and it destroyed the friendship between Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem, because Friedan very much was against the idea of using mythical characters and mascots, and especially a woman that was white and beautiful to symbolize their movement. They didn't want that at all. Mm-hmm. And that was the first real break in the women's lib movement. And that half the audience, half the readership of Miss Magazine was very furious. And then when Linda Carter got the role of Wonder Woman in 75, the red feminists, specifically, they were called the Red Stockings, that was the Marxist branch of the feminists, just protested, raised hell, screamed, yelled, accused Steinem of all these different things, accused Carter of all these things, because how dare they choose a beauty pageant winner to play their mascot because she's attractive. And then I bring up in the book in 2016, Wonder Woman is again the center of controversy when Frank Cho gets booted off the book because Frank's drawing her feminine and Greg Rutka can't handle that. And that same year, when the UN had named Wonder Woman as an honorary ambassador for women and girls, the feminists and the Islamists united in protest and had her removed, specifically saying that her boobs were too big. That was their number one complaint. And that second, she was white. So
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I actually remember hearing about that at the time. I forgot about that.
At the time, I just thought it was silly and moved on. Didn't even think about it after that.
So but again, going back into history, how many things would we look at and go, "Oh, that was silly," and knowing what we know now, how many of us would have raised the alarm bells?
Right.
If we could all go back and just ding ding, like all of us would have YouTube channels back then screaming about the guys, you don't know what's coming. This is not a good, there were
hindsight's always 20/20, man.
The rule is
my hindsight's always blurry. What?
You can't let them in the room. It's that simple. I mean, once you let them in, they never go away. They infest and they destroy what is there.
Yeah.
And you can even trace it even further back, because I think it was in 1935, the first sci-fi convention. Asimov and his group of commies tried to hijack the convention and make it about communism. Yes. This has been going on forever. They suck. You don't want them in your group. You cannot be tolerant of communists. They're terrible people.
Mm-hmm. That's why
sad, because I'm an Asimov fan, but yeah.
Well, it's I mean, my wife and I love a lot of bands out there that are, as red as, the Soviet Union. Like, there's a lot of bands we loved growing up, and we're just like, I love their music. And they're like, yeah, but they're, and it's like, and it's one of those things. It's like, in some instances you do separate the art from the artist, but when they pull crap like that, I was listening. Who was I listening to? I was listening to Eric July and Razorfist talk the other day. Eric July and Razorfist did an awesome conversation the other day. And one of the things that Razorfist had mentioned is he's like, the Marxists have always believed that if they just go grab those seats of power in like the cultural movement, it's like, okay, well, the culture has all these people over there and they love this cultural thing. Well, we'll just become the heads of that cultural thing, and therefore now we have all the people. And it really does seem like that is just their play. They weasel their way into the heads of culture. It's what we've seen like on blast in just an obnoxious way with Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, I think I named companies there multiple times, but it's what we've seen with modern day Hollywood media is that these Marxists have come in and they go, oh, we want people. Well, if we just control the thing that everybody loves, then everybody will just love the thing that we're making. And it's like, it's not quite how it works, but that is how Marxism functions.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, they never actually create anything. They always hijack someone else's thing and wreck it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And burn it to the ground. And then when they're done with that, they go to the next thing.
And it's not just in the last decade either. As you've pointed out,
there's a correlation between third wave feminism and Marxist influence. And that's really where the major polar shift happened over the last 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Bad news. I've got some bad news for you. goes back to the suffragists. Most of them were
I'm sure.
socialists.
I'm sure, but what I mean is that
Daniel, give it just Daniel, hold that point. Ishi, say what you just said, and then I want Daniel to make his point.
Most of the suffragists were either socialists or communists.
yeah, I'm aware. But what I meant was third wave feminists moved into the institutional education system in the beginning of the movement. And when they did that, the Marxist movement glommed onto them and started to manipulate their ideologies because they were very angry. And in doing so, that set up multiple generations of young people going through the colleges, the institutes of education, being indoctrinated into both third wave feminism and by proxy Marxist ideology. And then those people spread out into all the things that we're talking about. They got jobs within the companies of entertainment and social activism and all aspects of culture, because that's always been their focus, is to manipulate culture. And when they did that, the result is what we have now. All these people have moved into positions finally where they worked their way into, or manipulated their way into positions of power over things that we now are aware of.
May I make a slight alteration to the point that you just said, because it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. They weaseled their way, as you said, into the education system, right? The universities, the colleges, and all that. For the last 30 years, these are the only people that have been teaching in colleges and universities.
And the public education system. It's
and
been
the public,
years
and the public education since 1976 when the public when the federal education.
I think it was 1973.
Was it three? Yeah, it was 73. I'm sorry. 70. I'm sorry. 76 sticks out in my mind because that's when test scores started to fall. But
it took a couple of years.
It took 3 years. It took 3 years for test scores to start falling in America after we did the federal education. But what I was saying is they've been teaching in these schools for so long. Eventually, those are the only type of people that could be hired.
Right.
It's not that they eventually just pushed their way in. It's that those are the only people out there because they were taught by these people. They're the people who control the education system. And remember, they have pushed, and this is, thank God I didn't go to college because I sniffed this shit out when I was like 16 and I knew that it was wrong. The people who control society and the culture are the professors and are the teachers. And I knew that, and I knew what they were doing. I knew how just absolutely disgusting it was. And eventually you're going to reach a critical mass where the only when they say, well, if you want to function in society, you have to go to school. You have to go to school. You got to go to college. What are you gonna do? You got to go to college. I think people look
everything
at me and
requires a degree now.
Yeah, and I've had people look at me and they go, well, boy, you have 4 kids. Like, man, that's going to be expensive to send them to college. So why the fuck would I send my kid to college? And I genuinely get offended when people look at me and say that. And they're, well, I mean, they have to go. Bullshit, they have to go to college.
Biggest lie ever. Get a liberal arts degree.
Yeah, it's the biggest lie on the planet. But most people in American society specifically believed that lie wholeheartedly, sent their kids to the colleges, and now what we are producing when it comes to non-manual labor jobs, right, when it comes to office jobs, are people who have been absolutely indoctrinated by this Marxist ideology, and those are the only people who are there to hire, because those are the only people who have degrees, right? Which a degree does not equate to experience, but they're the only people who have degrees in those fields, and so they get shuffled off to the politicians, secretary positions. They get shuffled off to entertainment. It is. That's my point.
Because there was I could go for an hour on.
No, we could go on. It wasn't
You
that
was a
simple.
teacher.
Actually,
Go,
Let's-
go,
let's move
frolic,
on.
my children, run free.
No,
No,
Let's-
I was going to
let's let
say,
Ishi
you're getting
take
into
the
the
stage.
education part, and that is another reason I wrote this book, Boobs of Steel.
Mhm.
It isn't just about what went wrong. One of the reasons this became 3 books is I realized that I couldn't rightfully just chronicle what had happened and what we had lost without educating the reader with what it is we've had taken from us. I wanted them to understand what these archetypes were. I wanted
Yes.
them to know the history of these archetypes, the fact that they go back to the Paleolithic age, why they're important, what they symbolize. And so you're not only getting a history of what happened to our fandom and our culture, you're getting a history of all of these archetypes that have been taken from us. And well, if you're a writer, it's how do you, this is your guide to putting them back in.
A history of storytelling. Yes.
Right. It is.
Mhm.
And specifically around the Amazonian archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't think that you've actually specifically articulated it yet, for anybody who is not familiar with the basic premise of Boobs of Steel. Speaking of archetypes,
It's about boobs of steel, Richard.
I
Did you
know,
not?
but can you tell everybody what the archetype is that you named the book after?
That'd be
Explain
good.
Well,
Yeah.
actually,
The
I
uninitiated.
named the book after a trope in media, which a lot of people thought it came from anime, but it is ancient, and that was the best warrior, the best female warrior, or physically strongest female in the room in the story always had the biggest boobs. And a lot of people thought that was an anime thing. No, that goes way, 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 way back to like 6,000 BC or earlier. And it was an outward showing of the soft feminine strength in physical form. And
Really quickly, sorry,
Yeah.
John A. Douglas sent in a member chat for 9 months. I can't actually read this because, well, just look at the chat. It's a member chat for 9 months. John, thank you for sending that in, man. I appreciate you. Sorry,
And
go
I get
on.
into how that the Boobs of Steel trope ties directly into the Amazon. I give a history of the Amazonian archetype from Paleolithic era to now. And in the following books, I'm going to get into the archetypes that grew out of the Amazon, were basically defined by how they're different from the Amazon. And so those would be like the Valkyrie, the bad girl, the tomboy, the femme
When do you get
fatale.
into the goth girl?
Royce's favorite thing.
Oh, that definitely comes up. Bad girls. There's a lot of goth bad girls.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm sorry. I mean, it's so hard
Not
to keep a
wrong.
straight face on some of this stuff. I love this conversation because, again, having 3 daughters, my wife and I have actually sat down and had a very serious conversation as our daughters start to get into their teen years, and as our daughters want to be, because they're girls, they're going to want to look attractive to the opposite sex. Gentlemen, by the way, I'll have a lot of what we're going to call shotgun cleaning parties. You're more than welcome to come over. You can come over, clean shotguns. My daughters may or may not have dates picking them up that night. I don't know, but the parties will be there. Stupid ass jokes aside, which may not be a joke. But we know,
joke.
and my wife is like, but she's like, no, she goes, I have no problems. She's like, I don't want my daughters to dress like whores. She's like, but I do want them to dress feminine, and I do want them to dress attractive, and like one of the, I guess one of the ones that I always think of that's you kind of like the more covered up version of attractive, just so people like, what do you mean, Royce? Like, what's not a whore, but like it's still attractive? Like, what are you talking about?
I
And
believe
remember-
you're referring to the TikTok trad wife phenomenon.
I remember when I met my wife when we were 19, she wore something that was very, very reminiscent of, I guess it was, what was it like? It was like old Victorian. I don't know. Like I always called it like I was like, oh, you look like a sexy pirate, babe, because she had the boots, she had She had the boots. She had pants that fit, that hugged her body, but she also had a nice long like flowing shirt. It kind of looked like the big puffy like pirate shirt. And then she actually had an over the shirt like corset that she was wearing at the same time. Still covered
Nice.
everything, right? All you could see was like collarbone. So covered everything and all that stuff.
Oh,
But
no, the collarbone.
very attractive, very to me, very sexy. I mean, but very attractive, but it wasn't, but you know, it wasn't out there for everybody to see. And my wife and I have had constant conversations about what it is to raise feminine young women in today's world. And I love that you're talking about this because you're hitting on so many points right now, so many things that are important to parents out there, you know, who are in kind of the situation that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get a lot out of Boobs if still reading it. Then I think you might actually find a lot of media that you'll want to share with your kids.
I'm gonna.
My daughter's 21. I've already gone through this.
I've not gone through it. My daughter is not 21 yet, but I recognize
it's gonna
that
get interesting very soon.
But I do. But here's the thing: is I recognize when she is 21, I could be a grandpa then. Like that's. I mean,
True.
well, realistically, younger than that, hopefully not. But you know what? If it happens, regardless, it's my grandbaby. Like I don't give a damn. Like, but there's. So where do you think the celebration of femininity went away? Because we used to celebrate young women becoming mothers, right? Becoming, you know, the caretakers of the family, the heart and soul of the man. My wife is the heart and soul of our family. You know,
Well,
I'm the
I
heart
would say certainly the decline started with the women's lib movement of the 1970s, that they pretty much debased and smeared anything that was a healthy image of a mother or a woman who wanted to get married, or you know, their weird hatred of Barbie that went on for decades until they finally got their hands on her with that stupid movie. I mean, you look at the image they hated. The thing they hated more than anything was an attractive, blue-eyed, blonde, white woman with an hourglass waist. Despised it. And if she had boobs, even worse. Despised it. What happened to it?
It's all good. Keep going.
I'm just gonna go stretch my legs real quick. This chair is highly uncomfortable. I did forget to mention that. Usually in the pre-show, I tell everybody, guys, at about the hour mark, this chair is really uncomfortable. I got to go stretch my back because
you need a seat of darkness.
No, I've been thinking about getting a different chair, but they're so flipping expensive. But I need a chair that can kind of move and be out of the way because anyway, Ishi, go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. I apologize, man. That was my bad.
It was basically, it came out of, you know, New York and San Francisco primarily, but then it was a lot of coastal elite cosmopolitan women from upper class families that just wanted to dump all over one, attractive white women for some reason, just freaking hated blonde women, and they wanted to dump on women who were happily married or wanted to raise kids. And really what it came down to is if you were attractive to a man, you were horrible. If you wanted to be married to a man, you were horrible. Somehow these were all crimes against all women. If you didn't want to leave the house and abandon your kids and work nonstop like a man, you were a horrible woman. And as time went on, they kept portraying more and more this image that being a female was this horrible, horrible thing. You read all the feminist lit from like 1970s on, it was just constantly going on. Well, a woman means living in abject fear all your life. A woman means a chance of being raped at any moment. A woman means being... and so is it any shock that after 50, 60 years of this propaganda being dumped on our girls, that they're cutting their tits off and trying to look like boys? You know, they're being told that, oh, the world is just an open door for men. And, you know, if you're a female, you're just going to, you know, live in misery and constant fear.
So what would you say to the typical portrayals of in recent media what they portray as positive female role models, which are usually in it seems to me exhibit all like the worst aspects of like negative masculine behavior. What does that have to do?
The current idea of what a strong female character is seems to be either a vaguely ethnic girl or a Caucasian girl with brown hair with a string bean body and a sociopathic personality who's never held up to any moral standard. She can, anything and everything she does is absolutely okay. And that she doesn't have to achieve anything. She's already great. And she's the best at everything. And we should love her because they tell us to.
Yeah, I'm going to say the worst thing that'll probably get this channel destroyed if it ever gets out there, but it's essentially power fantasy. There's no realistic sense to it. It's all power fantasy. 100 and, say liberally 150-pound woman taking down 300-pound men.
Right.
By the droves is a power fantasy. That's the sort of it's an exaggerated version of hyper masculine action movies.
Sure.
Taken to such an extreme that it's absurd.
Yeah, and I mean I could see that. I'm talking less about the physical, strength. You can argue that being able to punch a bad guy in one hit and send him across the room and beat everybody up, that's not necessarily negative masculinity. I mean more the sociopathic tendencies that like what you were talking about with they have no consequences. Let's take
right.
Oh no, I'm forgetting who it is. The Brie Larson character.
Captain Marvel.
Yes, that's it. I was like, it's not Miss Marvel, but anyway.
Yeah, don't call her Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I know, right? With that scene where she comes across a biker, essentially just beats the crap out of him and strips him naked and takes his bike for like smiling at her or basically doing nothing.
Right.
Is that like vengeance upon the male character? Is that like just vengeance on masculinity, or is that something else that's being acted out? Because you see that kind of thing very frequently, I feel like.
I'm not even going to profess to understand what goes on in the workings of the minds of the people writing this garbage.
Okay, yeah.
But all I will say is that it's a real window into someone's mind that their fantasy of being, their power fantasy is being able to hurt anybody they want and it being perfectly fine. That seems a little odd. They're having no standards, no moral compass. Everything you do is going to be okay and right. They are morally bankrupt characters with no personality. They never have to achieve anything. They're psychopaths. There's really nothing left to say about. And it's like the people writing this, what does it say about them that they think this is the image of a strong woman?
Well,
yeah.
That particular,
if they even think that there is such a thing as a woman,
you
know what I mean, as a strong woman, you know what I mean.
But that particular scene you were talking about, Richard, is a direct parody of Terminator. That's the "give me your clothes" moment. And it's a hyper masculine moment where the big giant Terminator dude looks at another guy and goes, "Give me your clothes." And
so the female power fantasy is the mindless machine.
Yeah, essentially that was their parody of the Terminator moment, and that's what they were going for. This is cool. These people have all said it's cool. We're going to put a woman in place of the big giant Terminator man and do the same thing so it looks cool.
It really communicates what they get out of these films then.
And it just goes to show that they really don't value women at all, because all of these women who they say that, oh, well, we adore these women, they're so powerful, they're so, well, then why the hell are they acting like men? It just goes to show they only value in these industries, and I really do believe this, they only value men. They only value male power, the perceived male dominance, right? And they are trying to impose something on the female the females in media in order to try to say that, well, look at how awesome we are as women. It's like, but that's not a female trait.
Well,
You're showing your hand.
No, I would say they're not even acting like the worst traits of men. I would say that they're acting like toddlers throwing a tantrum. Because even when a toddler throws a tantrum and breaks things, you're not going to punish them for something they don't understand.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Not wrong.
They're acting like infantile children.
It's just so strange, and it's so strange because, and it's why we talk about it, because it's like, how the hell did we get here? Obviously we all.
What is the thing that the number one word used in what we'll call leftist, liberal, whatever, political, the number one word used most in any of their jargon arguments?
Validate?
No, privilege.
No, privilege.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's what it's all about. The concept of male privilege is what they're after, essentially. They want, at least those who are bandying these concepts about in entertainment, they're trying to shift the paradigm that they think is actually a thing. It's mostly an illusion, but they think that it is a real thing, and they're actively fighting.
It's it's all about male privilege until we say, okay, well, why don't you go, sign up and sign up to be, a construction worker? Why don't you go
work
sign up
an
to
oil
be
rig?
A bricklayer? Go work on an oil rig. It's all male privilege until, hey, how about this? Why don't we get rid of that dumbass rule that says that women can't be a part of the draft? Boy, do you guys remember that about a year and a half ago? It's all male privilege until actual real world hard work to your bone work, or go and be drafted for a bloody war that nobody wants to be a part of comes into play. Then the men can have that. We just want to have the positions of cultural influence and power and money.
Well, that's it. That's it. Exactly. The thing is that they don't perceive privilege as being. This is one of, I think, the fundamental shifts in understanding what's being said. They're not upset that the privilege of others exists so much that they think that it needs to be removed from them, because then it would make them equal or something. It's status gains. It all boils down to status entirely. Yeah. And what they want is the status that they perceive other people to have. Just because one man doesn't have the status that they want doesn't mean that broadly men in general, or even if they would agree that all men are of lower status than them, if it gained them more status by further attacking men, it would still be done. You know what I mean? That's the like very lowest level thinking is ladder climbing, essentially. But not on an individual basis, on a collective basis. But they want their little collective to be
that goes back to what we talked about with the Marxists and the Marxist takeover.
Yes.
And how they view it. They don't. I mean, it's funny. Marx never focused on taking over the workforce and actually working with the pipelines or the road pavings or the buildings, or no, it was always cultural. It was always those things that after the hard work is done, those things that let people escape. Marx focused on a lot of that. And
he had the perfect line. Nothing's your fault. Everything's the fault of a successful person, and you have the right to kill them and take their stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're not important and you didn't achieve and you're not as great as they are. And somehow
Well,
they did that to you.
I hold on. I think Obama said it best. You didn't build that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Not wrong.
Dude, this is, and it is so infectious in society, and it's why I will say this, although I don't agree with everything a lot of these guys say, but it's why we've seen the rise of people out there talking about. I mean, Jordan Peterson is a father figure for young men because with whatever this movement is, and I think it's parallel to what you're talking about, Ishi. But the Jordan Peterson has been a father figure to so many young men, teaching them how to be men. Now, for me, that was a foreign thing because my dad taught me. My dad taught. Well, I will say this. My dad taught me half of how to be a man. My mom taught me the other half because I was lucky enough to grow up in a household with a mother and a father. And and I realized at a young age, I've always told people, that's a whole nother issue. Dad taught me how to work with my hands. Mom taught me how to work with my mind, right? And I am equally good at both. That's what I've always told people, and I believe that wholeheartedly. But, you get guys like Jordan Peterson out there, and these young men, and you hear the stories of people coming up to him. You hear, Dan Vask. Dan Vask is definitely in this space that we're getting into. He talked about how Jordan Peterson impacted his life. I mean, how is it that essentially a professor from Canada who now becomes an online personality is now a father figure to millions of young men around the world, and young men are looking for that. They're looking for some guidance. They're going for that, and they can't find it. But all over the internet, it's all about, girl boss this, girl boss that, grow yourself. Women are rah rah. Female empowerment, this, that, and the other thing. We're just as good as they are, and then they turn around and they say to that. They say we're just as good as the men are. We can do everything the men can do. And then they turn around and say, men, you're worthless. You're useless. It's like how they have crafted this assault on the sexes so perfectly for the last 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they've done it both. They've lied to the women and told women that there's something that they are not. And they've lied to the men and told the men that they are something that are not. And they've inverted people so much, and it seems to have worked. But it seems that with guys like yourself who are pointing some of it out, that the bullshit is the bullshit's about run its course.
There's something in men and women that are very, very different. There's something about men that women don't seem to have. And I think it's because we're the genetic wild card. I mean, if there's a mutation that's going to happen, it's probably going to be a man. That's why, men get more genetic diseases. You get psychopaths, you get geniuses. And that is, no matter how hard they try to constrain the male, there's always going to be those handful of, sons of bitches who are just going to say, screw you, I'm going to do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of it. Why are we seeing a rise of people like Peterson, who I quote numerous times in the book, by the way? The reason being is because fathers are criticized when they only spend time with their son. Oh, that's being sexist. Male mentorship is discouraged. Oh, that's being sexist.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, growing up, I even remember there were all these different programs to get girls into the sciences, get girls into different, sporting events, get girls into writing. Wasn't a damn thing for me. It was just assumed I had an open door. No, I worked my ass off for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There's also a thing about a lot of these girls seem to think that they need to be told first they can do something, where how many guys just say, I want that, and figure out a way?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a question
The
for
builder
you
drive.
that's a little bit back towards the book, and that is, like, we have a lot of indie authors, a lot of indie creators that are watching right now. What are what are some of these archetypes and tropes and things like that that you found in put into Boobs of Steel and the subsequent two books? Like, what are things that they should be looking at? What would you tell people to look into to include in their fiction? Stuff that they might not have been exposed to because of the current state of things.
Okay, what to read or
Well,
what
no. I mean, like these ideas. Like, what are some ideas that, like, we've talked about how bad things have gotten and how
Right.
pervasive stuff has been. What are some good kind of touchstones that you think you cover in Boobs of Steel?
Well, the first book, I focus very heavily on the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And in that term, the things I would say for young writers to focus on is one, I would say we need to bring back to our characters a sense of beauty, a sense of honor, a sense of duty, pride, moral compass,
Mm-hmm.
and sacrifice to others. And that's both ways. In terms of female characters, I focus on the Amazon because she is the initial archetype for the West, at least, that was the woman who could walk in a man's space or walk the masculine path, but remain incredibly female. In fact, she was hyper female. She never lost any of her feminine strength or power. So in that regard, I would say, you've got the Amazon. I do touch upon it a little bit when I get into the pulps, but there's also the Valkyrie, the warrior woman who fights alongside the man, the woman who's his partner in arms, his shield maiden. I talk about the tomboys somewhat, about, again, the woman who can have all these masculine interests but still remain female. Talk about I get into the femme fatale and I talk about the bad girl, and those are kind of curious because the bad girl kind of crosses over into the rule breakers. That's like Lara Croft originally, as played by Angelina Jolie. The female, she was a cross between James Bond and Indiana Jones, but damn, she was definitely female.
Mm-hmm.
And we need that. And you know what? How many, you would be shocked how many women I encountered that just said that version of Lara Croft was like what they wanted to be. That was their idol, was Lara Croft, or not an action hero, but there was Jessica Rabbit was another one.
Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah.
It was the
I blame
concept of
Jessica
using
Rabbit
your
for furries.
it was the concept of using your femininity as a weapon.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
she wielded
let's
incredible power.
how about let's take it a little bit more modern. How about Black Widow in the first Avengers movie?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they understood who Black Widow was in that first movie. And she was a feminine, sexy, woman who used that. She also had some cunning to her, right? Let's, so throw some thief traits in there. But I mean, you remember the scene. It's Scarlett Johansson in the little black dress. She's tied up. She's playing the innocent damsel, so to speak, and then all of a sudden the true colors come out, and the whole, Scarlett Johansson, and she executed the role very, very well. And it's like, where did that go? Did women?
She killed it.
I had a thought a minute ago.
That's literally what happened.
When you get a man, and let's say that these two things that I'm about to say, they can do them correctly, right? They can do them 100% the thing. When you get a man who can do the 1,000-yard stare, other men pay attention, and they get what's going on. The equivalent is when a woman does that 1,000-yard stare, men melt. and that is the power of femininity, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, I've been married for 13 years. I get the stare once in a while, and I'm going to tell you right now, no, nothing will make me melt more than that stare. You know, but you know, again, the equivalent on the opposite end is the masculine stare. My dad, I'm 32 years old. Well, I'll be 32 years old very soon. My dad gives me that stare. It's like, fuck, I'm in trouble. All right. Yes, sir, I'll get it done. Like, yeah, I understand that the ball got out and I need to go fix the fence. Like, it's a very different thing. And I don't think that. When did women forget that they had that power?
They didn't forget.
Well,
you know what? I think you'd need a female to answer that.
Well, it just so happens that I have a few females in the chat.
Yeah.
Ladies,
But I don't think they forgot.
Ladies, for those of you, now I'm sure for those of you in the chat, answer this question for me. Obviously, I have the male 1,000-yard stare, which when that guy does it right, other men pay attention and they get to work. The female version of that is when the female does that 1,000-yard stare, men melt. Right? That's the power of femininity. Right? It throws us off our guard. It throws us off our game. It actually is one of the few things on the planet that can put men in a vulnerable situation.
I think one of the things is,
ladies, when did give me a second. Ladies in the chat, when did women forget that was a thing? When did you feel that women forgot that kind of power that they have over men?
Like RH Snow just said, we were told to hide it.
Oh. When did that start being a thing?
That's what I mean. I don't think they forgot.
Okay. That's interesting. All right, Snow,
if that's the case, I can say it was when women started being shamed by other women for being feminine, being told that they were pushing women back 50 years for being attractive or being attractive, beautiful, and attracting men. Being told that.
So
she says they didn't forget. We were told to only use it for sex.
That's interesting.
And Kat says it became harder and harder to tell when that behavior was feminine and when it was slutty.
Yeah, because they're perfectly fine with when it's
that's interesting,
slutty and anti-family or anti-healthy relationship. They're fine with perversion.
Mm-hmm.
And there are even documents from what was her name? The godmother of the trans movement, who said that the goal of feminism should be to pervert society.
Yep.
So
interesting.
And there were sci-fi writers in the 70s who were avid feminists. I forget her name. It was Joanna Russ wrote a book called The Female Man. She was considered this great feminist sci-fi novel. And essentially, what's the story? Well, women exterminate all men. They get rid of gender, and eventually they use language as a weapon and clothing as a weapon until it gets to the point that men and women are they couldn't even tell them apart anymore.
Well, actually, Garham up in the Rumble chat right now. I want to call this out because this is highly important to what we're saying right now. Usually I don't interrupt for chats. This one here, though.
I like this one.
Basically, why do you think male/female relationships are so effed up right now? Women were told they should try to have sex like men.
Mm-hmm.
And
that actually dovetails with Fiona Wolf's response. Mom told me not to take advantage of men's decency, but at least now I can also pay it forward and treat my dad and other important guys in my life to good food or gifts they can appreciate. Pretty traditional feminine trait.
Mm-hmm. That's huge.
And any of the feminine traits that are altruistic, beneficial, good, nurturing, all that had to go.
Yep.
I
In favor of exaggerated masculinity.
I cannot understand that. Before we continue, Richard, good sir, I know you've got to get popping off here. Because
Yeah, I've got some more mailers to pack. I've still got quite a
he's
few.
a busy
Packaging
guy.
duty.
Yeah.
So,
but issue number 2 is the last one where it's going to be such a crunch. I'm looking forward to being able to pack at a nice, reasonable pace and then mail everything at once.
So, I want to throw this out there, and I usually don't do this. In place of Sir Richard tonight, because of this conversation, would you two gentlemen be okay with maybe welcoming one of the ladies of the chat to possibly co-host in Richard's stead to fill in some of this? Because I mean, we're talking about femininity, and now I'm going to say something that I don't feel is controversial at all, because I think that women. So let me start with this: women have the ultimate decision on what is masculine. Men have the ultimate decision on what is feminine, because it's what we're looking for with the whole opposites attract thing, right?
It's not
but
a bad
I do think
assessment.
no, it's just how I feel. But I would like to throw it out to some of the ladies of the chat. If you would like to come on and engage in this conversation after Richard leaves, let me know. If you're in my Gilded, I will send you a link to join. Ishi, are you okay with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think that there are some questions here that could also be entertained as well. But Richard, good sir, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter or YouTube at Iron Age Media. And you can also find my website filled with prompts and submissions and wonderful books and other things at ironage.media. I'm working on a little special something for next week, but it's still not quite ready yet. Needless to say, if you have missed out on the first 2 issues of Anvil Magazine, that by next Friday, there's going to be a method for you to get your hands on them. So you can look forward to that. In the meantime, I do live streams on Sunday night where I just paint minis and kind of hang out and chit chat with whatever people want to discuss. That's on YouTube and Rumble. You can find those linked from ironage.media. So,
Awesome,
Ishi, thank you so much for swinging by. I really enjoyed, and I'll be listening as I'm packing to the
Good
rest
to
of it.
meet you. I definitely look forward to reading more Iron Age.
Yeah,
Anvil.
absolutely. All right, guys.
He always forgets, so Anvil Magazine on Twitter.
Yes, Anvil Magazine on Twitter. That is the other place that you can.
I also noticed there was a lack of links in the chat.
Yeah, I didn't drop any links whatsoever. I'll drop the one link that
you guys suck.
To
didn't we
connect
just talk about like us
we did,
doing better at the
I
promotion thing last night?
Yeah,
last
night
night
I didn't really do any of that.
2 hours we talked about absolutely nothing, and the one thing we got was like, yeah, maybe we could drop some more links. Like the one conclusion we came to out of a 2-hour conversation. He don't do.
We came to like 2 conclusions, but anyway.
What was the other one?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding. I think I wrote it down somewhere. Anyway, everybody have a good night. It was a joy talking to everybody, and I will see you all on Sunday night.
Have a good night, man.
Good night, Richard.
Night.
Really quickly, I'll call this out. Danny Diego sent in 20 A Drink with Crazy memberships. Thank you, sir. The notifications are going off in my ears. That is absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. I don't know, with all the stuff going on in the chat, if any of the ladies would like to join, but for the ladies in the chat, if you are here now, let me know. And I would definitely be interested in getting that take on it. Mostly because we've talked about having co-hosts come on when we have to bow out and things like that, or when, you know, a child breaks their arm. Probably could have had a backup for that one. But
That's what
all
you
right,
have us for.
Snow is available. Are you guys?
Come on, Queen.
All right. Give me just a moment, guys. I gotta mute everything. But gentlemen, continue with the conversation. All right, Snow, go to your gilded DMs.
So, as far as Boobs of Steel goes,
Yes. Available now on Amazon.
yes, I got about halfway through it.
Oh, excellent.
Been wild, but I did get about halfway through it. I don't have a specific question, but I'm curious. You talked about the rabbit hole and what 2 and 3 are going to be about. I'm curious about those. Do you have specific themes? Like, are you looking at the opposite, the masculine side of the issue, or is it the whole series specifically from the feminist side?
It's mainly feminine. Book 2 is the Riddle of Steel. Had to
Okay.
do it.
Good
And
name.
in that one, I get into myth making and our modern myths. I talk about why a character like Wonder Woman can succeed, who was pretty left leaning for her time, but yet turned into a legendary archetype and a staple of our culture. Whereas characters like Carl Manvers and America Chavez are going to be forgotten. They're not going to last. And I get into why, and it's basically because Marston built an archetype, and that's why she endured. I get into what feminine strength and feminine power is, and I talk about it. I get into various interpretations. Strangely enough, I talk about the way it's seen in Taoism, and it sounds a little fruity, but it's amazing how well Taoism describes it. And I talk about the changing image of what we think feminine strength is. I get into the other archetypes: bad girl, tomboy. I also may talk about the Japanese archetype of the lovely warrior, which is unique to Japan.
Actually was
and
going to be
very,
a question.
very prevalent in at least a lot from what I've seen from anime and manga.
Yeah.
The lovely warrior, one of the most recent that
It's got a long-standing root.
Well, yes, it does. One of the most recent that I've seen the lovely warrior in is Hell's Paradise. The female samurai in that, I feel, maybe I'm wrong because maybe I don't know the archetype, but I feel like I've seen that character before. I cannot remember her name from Black Clover. Daniel, back me up. Black Clover, blonde girl, the noble. She does the water magic.
Oh yeah, I don't remember her name either.
Yeah, I don't remember her name either. But yes, the
one that the most prevalent anime character that fits the Boobs of Steel hypothesis, and in my mind, is Rangiku from Bleach. If you're not familiar,
I touched
Rangiku
the anime button. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Rangiku
Chad.
is a second.
Noelle. Yes, it's Noelle.
Okay, yeah, that's her name. Rangiku is this incredibly chesty blonde woman who is second to one of the 13 Court Guard Squad's leaders, and she acts a bit ditzy in general interactions in the show, but in times of serious stress and action, she's very forward and very supportive. Like, she falls perfectly into a modern version of the traditional feminine archetype, and that she's right behind her leader through thick and thin and completely loyal. There she is.
Hi.
There she is.
I have hurried so fast. I am telling you right now, I put on my feminine lipstick so I could be here. The lighting is horrible. Just you're gonna have to live. I am so sorry.
You are all good.
You're fine. All right.
Thank you.
So Miss RH Snow,
How?
unlike before when you were on this show, now you are an interviewer. So now
good
you have the
job.
important job of asking the questions and then
Holy cow.
following that conversation.
I didn't
Or
know there would be a quiz. Jeez. I thought I was coming on to have fun.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Always come on to
also
have
that
fun.
too. Also that too. No, no. So, but and then part of the reason, and I get to break all the rules because I get to treat any of my co-hosts as guests.
Good.
But so where? So because you've been in the chat most of the night listening to the conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You noticed me. I'm so glad.
I don't
Always.
start that. Don't start that. Don't. The chat's gonna start stuff. So where, out of the conversation we've had this evening, what's something that sticks out in your mind with what we've talked about?
I really honed in when you started talking about daughters, and the tone of the whole conversation shifts, because one of the things we talked about is the transformative effect of true femininity on men, and the nature of the interaction that we have. And Yoshiro touches on this, that women and men are meant to be together, but together they form the divine whole, the divine couple. It's one of the foundational themes in Watcher the Damned. It's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this when you're talking about it, is the fact that there is such a thing as a divine couple. There is the interaction between male and female. And when they interlock in that proper way, not just sex, but instead we're talking about the holy interaction of male to female, masculine to feminine, we see both of them awaken to the true power that they actually hold. And in fact, there was a movie in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, it was called Krull. It was either 1980 or 1978. Right,
Love that movie.
Where it actually shows the divine flame that both of them create together. And in Christianity, you have the sexuality, this actually holy sexuality, that when male and female marry, they form the reflection of God, which is why it is one of the three sacraments of the church, which is baptism, Eucharist, and marriage. So now we have the holy interaction that we have. And without masculine and feminine, neither one of them they meet their own true potential. And as I saw this conversation shift, for we're talking about bosoms, I don't say boobs, I just say. So you talked about this, and I'm a woman who's older. I fed my children. My mother taught me. I have a very strange setup in our family, and I've told you about this before, that my mother was older when she had me. She was almost 40. And she was born in 1927. And so as a result, she taught me the things they knew before modernity came in. She taught me to feed my babies by breastfeeding them. And watch the tone change. And now we're going to talk about a woman feeding her breasts.
Oh, dude, don't get me started on that conversation. The
it's a tough conversation.
Amount of disdain in the world that I saw, my wife saw, because for people that say, how disgusting is it that a woman would breastfeed? And we're like, and my wife and I are just baffled.
That's what they're for. That's what they exist.
I know. But again, I think it goes into what Ishiro's talking about.
It does.
Is this destruction of femininity? I mean, what is more feminine than sustaining your child?
But that's the reason you're attracted to it. That's the reason that everybody looks at these things, because it feeds the world. It is the thing that binds all of us together. It's the only reason humanity has existed. There is not in antiquity the ability to feed a child except through the milk of either an animal that is closely somehow has that structure in its milk. But even then, children would frequently die because there are things in breast milk that are only available through breast milk. And so as adults, we have that instinctive yearning for it. What we see is the castration of the male and female as well. This is the sanitation of everything. Sex without actual procreation or and it doesn't have to be a procreative in the physical sense. Even there is a metaphysical type of procreation that takes place when you embrace masculine and feminine, which is why older people that have sex, even though it's far beyond breeding, it is still a holy act because it embraces the fact that there's the masculine and feminine. When you take away those two elements, what you have is an absolute sterile, immature, castrated form of sex that has no real value, and there's no connection. There's no possibility of life within or life without. There's just banging together and leaving. This is when you have just breasts that are just plastic, that are just there to look at. They are sanitized and neutered. They don't have a purpose. They're just there for you to look at. You forget what the real meaning is. The same thing with male sexuality. You forgot what the real meaning of it was. There was a reason that phalluses are considered to be swords. They are protectors. It defends. It creates a safe space. There is a hugely diminished understanding of male procreative holiness. And when you saw the conversation turn, and Ishiro brings this up, it turns from, well, boobs, they're all excited, and suddenly there's daughters and they're going to have them. What are they going to use them for? What are they there for? Is it just for some man to squeeze and they go get cut off or get them cut open so they can get more plastic in there because, hey, some guy wants to look at it or some girl told you to go do it? Or is it because you wanted to be human and be yourself and you wanted to be everything you could be? And I said, I live in a family that has a lot of infertility issues. We still are feminine. Even if we've never had a child, we still are who we are. We embrace that and spread it to the rest of our families. But you saw this longing in the response for the response to the McDonald's commercial. Where the whole family, you see it basically revolves in that, but the daughter in the man's lap, and he's just protecting her, and the wife is feeding the child, and it becomes completely and totally male in that point. He is the defender, and like I said, the son awakens the king in you. The son awakens that person. And Ishiro touches on this. And Ishiro, I wanted to ask you, because this was so fascinating to me. As you were going into the subject, did you actually get pushback from people just for merely daring to question the narrative that has been created?
I was getting pushback from the beginning in the comics industry in general when the change started happening. Yeah. I'll tell the story since she can't. One of the events that inspired me to first take on the subject at all was my wife is very well endowed. And when the feminists started invading comics at the conventions, she would be harassed. And constantly she was being expected to either be ashamed of her breasts or, people would say, don't you feel insecure when you see all these sexualized women with big breasts? It's like, she looks like that. What's the deal?
Yeah.
And the moment that really got me was when a group of feminists who had, I think their book was called Womanthology or something like that.
Yeah.
They tried to recruit her to do art for their book. Mm-hmm. And when Kat made it very clear she wasn't going to have any of it, that she did not, she wanted nothing to do with them. The little leader of this group said, honey, you're going to have to cut those things off before anyone will take you seriously.
It's abusive. So the question becomes and how did your wife respond to this?
She basically just rolled her eyes, gave them a dirty look, told them to go away. I mean, she was on her best behavior. I really think she should have been tougher on them because we were at a convention and she was running her booth. I mean, it was her company. So,
but there's a little bit of customer service courtesy involved in that decision, I guess.
Okay, and one of the things I wanted to tell you is, first of all, it's okay for you to say that you felt like you really wanted to bust some heads. And secondly, for her to be able to say that she is maybe not as confrontational. One of the most difficult things we have is we expect women to act as men too in conflict. And one of the hardest things for us is that when we are attacked from without, we need, and it's really hard because if the man comes rushing in, immediately women are, and they'll make a bunch of noises like you're assaulting me or you're being male. we are who we are. I am not, as strangely enough, people consider me to be pretty confrontational sometimes, I guess. But in reality, I'm a very beta person in a lot of ways. And I'm only as brave as I think I can be. I've been known to get super brave in a few situations. But when it comes down to it, we still have that trigger point. And especially in the face of female tribalism, and this is me being honest, that we have a tendency to back down and listen. It's because most of the time in the past, women talking to women, they could be destructive. There's no doubt about it. The archetype of the older woman that destroys with her gossip is very real. But there was also a group of women that would come together and say, you don't have to let him abuse you, or it's okay, you're going to make it, or it's not the end of the world. He left. We were trained to expect that. We are very tribal and we are very attuned to cues. One of the things feminism did is that it taught women to hate each other, to use that feminine tribalisticness to turn instead into another destructive force that they have a license to hate as long as they hate what they're told to hate. And it keeps having this daisy chain of hatred that falls down. And so it's really tough because even me right now, I'm like, well, you just stand up and face them down. But I'm telling you right now that if somebody in my circle came to me, I wouldn't say anything a lot of times. The same thing happened to me. I was at my church, and I am not what one would call pretty. I'm very, very blessed in the sense that my mother was an absolutely drop dead gorgeous woman. I'm 4'11". I'm a round mound of profound sound, and I know I'm not the prettiest person in the room. I never was. So I was blessed that I got older. I didn't lose my glamour. I didn't have it in the first place. Congratulations to me. But when I did look,
I think you're hard on yourself.
I did well.
Agreed.
I know what I look like off camera, so it's okay. But we received the same thing, and I backed down too. I was at my church, and I was wearing something I thought was pretty, and instead I had one or two particular ones that would come up and just harass me. Not older ladies; they were younger ones, and it had nothing to do with beauty. It had to do with conformity, and conformity is a killer. It always is. It serves a purpose in societies, but it doesn't necessarily save us. And we have to learn how to break free. And fathers, men, are where we learn that. We have to be able to reach out to men, and they can say, it's all right for you to push back against her. I know she's your best friend, but she's just being a hoe right now. Don't say that part. Say, she's just being a whatever, and you can push back, and I'm on your side. And sometimes we do need to hear that, but I really, the fact that I think
I'd say that to my daughter a lot.
Yes, and girls need that from their fathers, and women need it from their husbands, their boyfriends. Do you remember, Ishiro, was there a time when she's at the booth that she looked over at you to see what you were thinking?
Maybe that's a very difficult question because without getting into my background, I have severe post-traumatic stress due to a gunshot wound.
It's okay.
No, we're not getting into that. Okay, so when I was in the convention center, it was kind of a trial just not to
run.
Staying calm. Conventions were always a trial.
It's okay.
Because, sensory overload. So I couldn't honestly remember.
It's okay. And actually, my family, I have several generations of PTSD because I have many family members that are in the military and active conflict. So I understand completely what you're saying.
But I can't answer your question. I can.
Yes.
While I can't say I recall that very moment, I will know that the early parts of our relationship, a lot of it was me getting her to recognize the strength she had, realizing just how tough she was, till she reached that point where, she'll speak her mind. She'll tell you what she thinks. And so,
Yes, we look to men, and y'all sometimes may not necessarily see that as that. Royce called it the 1,000-yard stare. But we look to you, and daughters do this to their fathers all the time. And we have an entire generations of men and women. The bond of man to man, of man to father, has been broken so often now that it's very difficult for us to know where to start. So we start with what we wish, the father we dreamed of, the father that we wish we'd had, that he was just there. He's the guy that showed up when you were getting bullied. He was the guy that when somebody hit you, all of a sudden dad shows up. Maybe he never really was there for you, whether you're in the chat or in the panel. But you, in your mind, you knew what it was you longed for, and you saw that. And that father is the one that you wanted to be. Well, we have to do the same thing for ourselves as husbands and wives. We're trying to rebuild society. We're living literally in Christ in Rome, almost in this point, where we're saying we know what we want, we remember what romance looks like, what fatherhood and motherhood looks like, but we're having a hard time finding it in our own lives, and we may not even have that example. We have to rebuild it through literature. We've talked about this before, and what you're doing, Ishiro, is you are taking the ideal and you're saying, here is what we had, here is what we lost. You can see this and you can rebuild if you have the right tools. We shouldn't beat ourselves up if we go through failed relationships, if you know why it happened and you can maybe make a difference. We shouldn't beat ourselves up that we have been through a difficult time with our own parents, but we can start now if we tell the stories. And what you're doing, as she wrote, was so incredibly important, because as we awaken in each other, the male to female dynamic, as we find the person that we're supposed to be with, and we say, I want to be myself, I want to be a man, I want to be fully a man, and a woman's able to say, I want to be fully a woman, even if I never bear a child, I'm going to embrace the fact that this is who I am, and I love and I create, and I am this human. I'm still a feisty person. You see me, yeah, rah, you can tell I'm hell on wheels sometimes. I said, no, sorry, I dropped the F-bomb.
I almost replaced Daniel and Richard with you. I almost got rid of both of them the first time you were on. I was
no. You have to keep them, because I love the male dynamic here. I really do. There's a reason why I haven't come on and go, let me on, because you guys need to talk. There's a reason why. How many of you right now, and you can do this out in the chat too, how many of you actually do have a strong bond with a traditional father figure in your life? Okay, good. Then how many of you?
I want to talk about that. The father figure that you talked about a minute ago.
Yeah.
I know this deviates. I know this deviates a little bit, Ishiro, but I knew what I was doing when I was bringing the Queen of the Iron Age on, as we have dubbed her, but because she's a pistol, but she brings a lot. But my dad, when somebody was bullying you at school, your dad shows up and he handles it for you. Well, believe it or not, it was my older brother who did that for me. My dad looked me in the eyes, and he said, "Here's the deal." He said, and it took me years to understand this. And I talked with my dad about it. I said, "Is this what you were saying to me?" And he goes, "Yep." But my dad, when I was younger, and I talked with him about people picking on me and this, that, and the other thing, he goes, "Here's the thing." He goes, "You never lay a hand on another person. Never once." He goes, "But if they lay a hand on you, you finish it." And he goes, "I don't care if it becomes a bloodbath." He goes, "You finish it." And he goes, "Because if you don't, I'll finish you when I get home." And I thought about that for years. I was like, what was he saying? And I said, "Dad," and I called him. I was in my 20s. It was just before or just after my first kid was born.
Yeah.
And I said, "Dad, I get it." I said, "You were telling me that you always respect people until they disrespect you.
Yeah.
And then you teach that person with everything you have to respect you."
Correct.
And the reason that you do that is because that's what we are supposed to do. Men are in a situation in society where men don't get respect.
No.
We have to simultaneously command it and earn it at the same time.
As it should be.
As it should be, yes. And that is something that I am working my ass off to teach my son.
And when you said that, and the thing that you have here is that you were able to go home to your father and he told you this. He was actually there.
Yeah, he was.
And
he was at the dinner table every night.
That was him rising up and going, "I'm going to whoop the heck out of somebody," because he's there for you when you showed up. Yeah. I will guarantee you that if the deal had gone down, he would have shown up like, Kurt Russell from Tombstone, riding in, bringing hell.
My dad would have. My dad actually had a reputation that people didn't really want to screw too much with his kids.
Yeah.
It does. That's a long story there, but my dad had a reputation of showing up on a Harley Davidson in all of his black leathers, picking up his kid.
That's it. Now, that's the one what I'm talking about, where you see the dad and he shows up. But there's so many of us that the wound is there. It doesn't ever close. There's a hole that is shaped like the man who never came back, the man who never showed up. Maybe he died. Maybe something else happened. Maybe addiction or adultery or some other sin took him, or maybe something happened to tear him away from you. But that hole is shaped like the man you are supposed to be. That's the one you are. It's who you are inside you.
I want to pull this. So Kat, which if Kat, I believe that Kat Racha in the chat is your better half, Ishi, correct?
Yes, she's my wife.
Okay.
Yay! Hi.
Wonderful.
But
she said something, and I think she is on to something here. And it says, and women aren't expected to get or earn respect anymore. They are just treated like children.
Well, they're treated like children. And what have we done with children? We absolutely deplore them unless they are doing exactly what we tell them to do. They're not even considered to be even innocent. They're used.
Society, in a sense, has been
infantilized.
Society, in a sense, has been infantilized and handed over. And handed over. Like women are just told, you just be you. You have no responsibility. You just be you, and it's all the man's fault. Ishi, what are your thoughts on some of the things that we've talked about?
It's kind of hard keeping up with the
I know
the stream of verbiage. I mean, it is you're on the money on every count. I'd love to have you on our show.
She's a tidal wave,
dude. She's a tidal wave.
Talk too much.
No.
Apologizing. I'm sorry.
You've been dead on in the chat the whole time. I'm glad you did jump in.
Thanks.
It's I did it somewhat intentionally because we're talking about a conversation that is natural. The relationship between men and women, the destruction of women in society, the importance of women in society, and the importance of women in society in a way that nobody wants to talk about anymore. And
I'll be right back.
Yeah, dude, I've already taken 2 breaks, man. This chair's like, hey, maybe if I took my jacket out from underneath my back, it wouldn't hurt so bad. I just realized that, but no, Ishi, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on some of this?
My thoughts after listening to Madam Snow talk about what's going on is that it goes back to, I guess, the line from Fight Club that we're I guess we're at the 3rd generation now, but we were the first generation of men to come from single parent households.
Yes.
We were raised by single mothers.
And single mothers have a hole in their heart.
Now, I wasn't. My parents stayed married, but they were. My father was never home. He was not a great guy. And my mother wasn't my mother. And whenever Dad got caught cheating, I took the beating. So,
wow.
And
I mean,
it's okay to talk about it too. It's okay to say, this is where I come from. This is who I am. And to realize that the man that you are right now, everything you have taken on, the woman who loves you because of who you are and what you've overcome. So never denigrate that. You are no less a man because father walked away from you. That's his loss, not yours. You are going to be everything that he wasn't. You already are. You've already there for you and for the people around you. Your wife, I will guarantee you that when she was going through this, she looked over to see if you were there. She wondered where you've been. And the reason why is not because she wanted you to interfere. She just knew that if she had you on her side, that everything was going to be okay.
Well, that is actually why I don't talk to those people anymore. My so-called parents, is that in my wife's most desperate time of need, they were cold and heartless about it. Did not care in the least. It was during the Black Lives Matter riots.
Oh, good.
And she had to fly to Virginia where to see her father, who was dying of cancer. He had days to live, and his neighborhood's on fire, and I can't go with her. I cannot go with her. My parents call up and they couldn't give a damn.
Really?
They could not give a damn about any of this. And when I had mentioned I was worried because, well, the neighborhoods were on fire and Black Lives Matter was rioting,
Yes.
all they wanted to do was argue with me that Black Lives Matter and Antifa that was a lie, that there weren't any riots, the neighborhood wasn't on fire. And yeah, all they wanted to do was scream at me about politics because
that's hard, and it's difficult, and
Well,
it's okay for us to love people who are not going to be there for us. And I'm saying this love, that doesn't mean that that you have to embrace them or even be on the same side of the street with them. There's still an anger about it. The reason why is because you needed it. You needed them to show up for you. You needed your dad to suddenly show up and say, this is going to be cool. You wanted him to be a hero. You wanted your mother to be the nurturer. And it's okay to say that you wanted that. It's okay to say that.
Instead, they disrespected my wife, and I wouldn't have it.
Yeah, and so
I've actually been there. I have a stronger relationship with my parents now today, but they're early on in our relationship. It wasn't all sunshine and roses. My wife and I went through. I mean, the first 5 to 7 years of our relationship, whether it be family or our own failings of ourselves, was hell. And I almost cut out my family. In fact, at our wedding day, not a single member of my family was there.
Oh, geez.
On my wedding day, I had a friend of mine. I had one friend of mine show up. He was the only person in my court that showed up. Other friends that I had, they would have shown up. They were just out of state at the time working.
Yeah.
But the one friend that could show up did. And I said, "Hey man, I got a big question to ask you." He goes, "What?" I was like, "I need a best man." My best man was supposed to be my brother. Now, since then, things have changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my friend was like, "Whoa." I was like, "Dude, at the very least, like just just help me with the ring."
Hand me the ring.
And like, because we did a traditional, it was a traditional Catholic wedding. And by traditional, not the new mass, traditional Latin mass. My wife actually almost passed out kneeling. We were kneeling there, and she actually, and her maid of honor had to come up and catch her. But even my dad was like, if you would have called me, I'd have been there. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, after everything, after all of this stuff that you said, why that this is, I am giving myself to this woman. And I am saying in front of God and saying, because in front of God, I'm giving myself to this woman in your honor. And she is saying to me in that same regard that she is giving herself to me in his honor. And you're sitting there telling me that this is the biggest mistake of my life. Why the hell would I have you there? Why the hell would I have you there? That's not that I don't play those games. I look at it this way. And it's true to a certain sense. Friends and family are temporary. Friends and family are temporary. As much as we don't want that to be a thing, friends and family are temporary. And
I'm sitting here trying to plug in my phone because it wants to die and my cord won't take. I hate it. I think it's plugged in now. That's good. It's okay to say that those things were missing. You got a story out of it. Now, this is the thing. Each of us has a story to tell. And when you do that, you chose your wife. You say, I choose you. You said, I choose you. One of the most powerful things we can ever do is say, I choose you above all others. And that is actually part of the vow. It's part of the vow. When it doesn't happen, that's when marriages break. That's when hearts break and things change. But it's okay to say there's a hole there. And when we have that hole, we have to try to fill it. And we, as women and men, look to each other to fill. We talk about daddy issues or mommy issues, and we denigrate it so much.
Those get weird sometimes.
Yes, they do, but that does. But it's okay to talk about it and to say, this was missing in my life. I just need somebody to hold me. How many times have we heard somebody say that? A man especially? I just need somebody to hold me. I just need you to hold me and let me know it's okay. It's okay to say that because you're reaching out to the nurturing feminine. There's nothing remotely sissy about it or mama's boy. This is just about wanting your wife to be who she is as the human being she is. And some of us are not as nurturing. I mean, some of us, when I'm healthy, I'm a firefighter and an EMT, and I go out and attack fires and do all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I have to switch off a little bit because I'm so busy hitting the problem that I have to switch away from that. I'm going to, attack this flame. So I need to help this person, and you have to switch modes. And I have to do that. But for most of us, it is in there. It's okay to say, I encourage you to be that. It's all right to be that. You don't have to constantly act like you're going to take the world by storm. And men need to hear that too. We all do. We all need to hear that. But it's also okay to say, and yeah, you're a dude. You're going to act a little different. And it's okay. I'm not going to give you a bad time just because you act like a dude. If you go be Mongo and make fire, then that's what you did that day. And it's okay. You shot a gun and you went, rawr. Fine. Well, I'm not going to give you a bad time for it. It's okay for us to be us. And if there's a broken place, we look to each other. Why? Because that's what we need. When we find it in each other, we can give it to other people. Strong men create strong women. We cannot be as strong as we need to be if we do not embrace the fact that the male, even if he is not personally in our lives, that the male is still an important part of society. We can celebrate it institutionally, even if it is not a personal part of our own life. And we can do the same thing in a female response. Part of this premise, and I say part of it, actually one of the greatest premises in Watcher of the Damned is the vision that I had about it is actually, and those who have read it know this, and they'll talk about it. It is about the interaction between male and female. The giant yawning gap that occurred, I would go up on 4chan. I was doing research on there, and I became part of the community with the Anons, and I'm not going to brag on it because they already know I can't Triforce. I cannot do it. I never could get that done. But I know that these guys were hurting. They literally would talk about it endlessly. There were threads and threads and threads. What do we do about women? How do we get back into the lives? How do we do it without losing ourselves? Why are these things happening? Your society is being destroyed. It's being destroyed from the outside. This is not just a sin problem where people just became decadent and fell apart. This has been forced on us because of leaders who for decades have believed in the Malthusian lie that the world would become overpopulated.
Thank you.
Then when they took that to heart, that is
the overpopulation lie is oh man, I could go off on that.
Thank you.
And what did they destroy? What they did is they came up with abortion, and then they came up with sex selective abortion, and there are now an
now they've keep in mind everything that we're seeing, the destruction of women, everything that Ishiro's talking about in his book.
Yes.
The young women cutting off their breasts, they're going out, they're getting medically castrated, young men are getting medically castrated. All of that is because of that lie.
Yes,
the overpopulation lie.
Absolutely. It is and who are they saving the world for? They don't offer themselves up. They don't go in as
it's resources. The more people that die, the less people. The more that die, the less that can own land, and the more land that they can own.
Well, absolutely, and that's based also on the English, how the English took over the Irish was they changed the way inheritance laws worked. Now you have a situation where you literally come in and you cut it off at the knees. There are no more heirs. There's no more people to inherit this vast wealth. They've taken it down. But this is being forced on you. If you're going to be angry about this. And in Watcher of the Damned, we talk about it in detail about how this has been forced onto a society that did not ask for it, did not want it, never really accepted it. But you have to stop wondering why it happens and start getting angry about it. Because when you get angry, when you realize that women were led down this path just like men, that we've all been lied to. This was abuse from the top down, from the very top of society, down to the people, the undesirables like you and I. All of us out here that refuse to accept the lies, that refuse to comply, that refuse to give in, that keep on procreating, keep on living our lives, keep on believing in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are the ones they long to destroy, because you cannot control a man who believes that he is going to save his family or his world. When they destroy women, they destroy men.
Before we continue on that, I've got super chats that I have to read.
Go right.
I have to tell everybody that they need to go over to Amazon.com right now and buy Boobs of Steel.
Yes. Woo!
Thank you.
And Ishi, like I said, I knew what I did when I brought RH Snow on, and I hope there's no bad blood here. But
No,
there's
no,
a
not
little
at
bit
all.
of there's a little bit of a private chat here. Apparently, Ishiro just went and bought your first book.
Oh, geez, I hope I did okay. I'm sorry. I hope you like it. I feel bad now. And then I'll get really nervous, and I'll be like, I want
Really?
you. I am such a huge people pleaser, and it really is. I have to fight it constantly. And once again, I feel
You'll
ashamed.
enjoy it, Ishiro.
I've heard from everybody who has read it that they love it. I have not picked it up yet.
You'll enjoy it.
Been going back and forth with a lot of other things, but
No, it's okay. You are you, and you are going to watch and consume the media that is going to entertain you and affects you. You have friends who are reading it. That'll be fine.
I also have 4 children, and I don't have infinite money. That is also a factor.
But I'm going to buy Shiro's book because I have been waiting for this. This is the male defense of women, not of women as we call it. This is the hero rising, saying, this is why women are necessary. These are who we would like to have, and it's not shameful to say that.
You know what? It's so, seriously, I was skeptical because Boobs of Steel, especially seeing some of the projects that I've seen, I'm just like, okay, what is this? And like I said, I'm about 4 pages in.
Yeah.
Radically altered. Oh, are we about to get a cat? Oh, we've got a cat. Yes.
Yay! Oh my gosh. I saw you in the background and I'm so blind. I actually have a degenerative eye condition, so I cannot read the chat. And so I'm like blind looking at people. I'm just sort of like talking to little blurry blobs over there. So it's wonderful to see you. Oh my God. Y'all are so cute. You look like a little pair of salt shakers. There's like the salt. That is adorable. That is one thing I will say, Royce. I have never seen that with you and Albany. We're not y'all looking at it, but that is just so cute. Look at y'all like matching. That is so adorable.
They look. No, I've seen them on a few live streams together. I will say that you two look like you belong together. You guys just look.
Aww.
You do. I'm not gonna apologize.
Really quick before we get into this, what is your song? You have a song. It's your song.
Girl You Want.
Yep.
By Devo.
Okay, that's really cute. Royce, what is your song?
You
and Albany.
We have 2. We'll go with the original one, but the original one was "I Knew I Loved You Before I Met You" by Savage Garden.
Oh, that is so
good song.
Cute.
There's sort of one other.
That's the other one.
Brack.
Oh.
No,
anybody remember the show Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
Oh my God!
Ways.
Yeah, for Cartoon Planet, there was the song "Silly So and So."
No, Crazy Lipstick
or
Fool.
Crazy Lipstick Fool. Yeah, it's got 2 titles. That one was our song for like the longest time too. So
that's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was
and by the way,
yeah.
By the way, everybody in the chat, Kat's the reason that this whole thing happened. She is the one that reaches out. Ishiro, you have one hell of a marketing agent right there. And you
been bragging on your picture. You heard that, right?
Oh, by the way, I have to point out, Ishi made this shirt for me.
Really?
Yes, he designed this shirt for me. So
that is so cute. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I was going to mention that, so it's good that you did.
Get yourself some liquid.
Get yourself some liquid. All right, well, we'll go in. All right, we'll go into some of the super chats real quick. Kat, I'm so glad that you were able to make it here before we go.
Yeah, so am I. I was really happy that you guys were still going when I got off work. So
I may or may not have thought in the back of my mind, I'll keep the show going a little longer just to make sure. Because I have actually, it's been Kat has been the one who's reached out. That you want to talk about a woman believing in a man. Her husband wrote this book.
Mm-hmm.
And she reached out and she was like, hey, we're doing this book.
That is so cool.
She's the one out there constantly promoting it. I see it like, because he's in the background writing his others and she's out there promoting it. I just so everybody knows, here's what I see on social media. and I want everybody to know, to see what I see. I see the guy who is constantly working. How do I see that? Because she's saying it. She's saying it on social media. And then I see her out there promoting what her guy is doing. That right there. And it clicked in my head. I didn't, I looked at what you were doing. I was like, oh, they're a thing. Because no partnership. The way that because you were professionally aggressive. Like, no, please, let me send you this book.
I own the publishing company.
You were like, yes.
That's my logo right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you sent me the review copy, and I told you, I was like, I might not be able to get to this. I'm so sorry because, and again, the biggest problem with sending me digital copies is it's not physically in my line of sight throughout the day. But something told me, I was like, all right, let's check this out. Like, it's Boobs of Steel. I was like, that's a weird title. Like, what's going on with this thing? And I read the first 4 pages, and I reached out to Daniel and Richard, and I was like,
gotta have it.
This is a thing.
I read half of it before I got distracted.
So you're further ahead than I am. Okay. All right, guys, super chats. We got to do the super chats. I got to do super chats. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
I'm also constantly reading all day long.
You got to get to the people paying you.
That's right.
It sounds dirty when you say it like that. Don't say it like that. It's super. Raving Dad Gaming for $2. Ishiro Finney, be sure to roast Royce. The chat does. Yeah, the chat does do that.
Yes, we love you. We have no choice.
Well, that's how you know who your friends are, right?
That's right.
Actually, it is.
The beating shall continue until morale improves.
Until everything
Exactly.
The shit that I say to my friend.
How it goes.
So here's the thing. My friends and I can no longer game in like PlayStation voice chat or anything like that because they're using AI, and the crap that we say to each other, they would ban all of our accounts because they're using AI to detect that even in private voice chats. Oh my God. Oh, it's
It's bullshit.
It's surveillance.
So many. Oh, it is so many words that I cannot say on YouTube. Herman P. Hunter, the Lore Forge, also over here known as the Hedge, for $5. Royce, did you crack a cold one open before the start of the show? I did, and it was not that one. It was this one. It was the Blood Orange Blonde Ale by Second State. A little bit tart on the back end. Not a smooth finish like certain things. Really good flavor on the front end, though. But a little bit tart on the back end. And currently, because I ran through a couple others that they were okay, not really worth mentioning. But currently, I'm drinking the Peach Stand Rambler.
Oh my God.
By Odell Brewing. This is a really good one. This is a good solid flavor all the way through.
I've been drinking whiskey like a man.
What are you
Hey,
drinking?
my man.
Here's the thing. I'm a Scotch guy. 2, I drink it very seldomly. Because my personality is all or nothing. I drink Scotch like I drink beer, 12 ounces at a time. You get a very different result.
You get me.
You get a very different. I have 4 kids. They don't need to have a drunk father. So for me, I stick to the beer because I like the flavors. I can drink as much as I need to, and with the exceptions of a couple of nights when I've gone a little bit too far, but for the most part, no, my kids will never see me drunk if I'm on beer. But yeah, no, you start feeding me Scotch or whiskey or rum or anything like that. Yeah, it's
the connoisseurs in the chat.
Connoisseur. Yeah,
my decanter is always filled with High West Double Rye.
High West.
Nice.
That ain't bad.
It is delicious.
That ain't bad.
And in case I run out before I go to get more, I've got Ryder's Fuel.
Oh my gosh. All right, Shiru and Kat, what are y'all drinking over there?
I just got off work, so nothing at the moment. I know.
I was drinking
Time to catch
coffee, but I didn't know if this was required to drink alcohol. So I got coffee next to me.
So I always tell people this: it's a drink
a
with
drink
crazy.
with
It's not
crazy.
an alcohol with crazy. Like
Okay.
It's an alcohol
I
with
literally do Sunday coffee where we drink coffee, and then
Yeah.
at the 1 hour mark, I crack a beer.
What?
Because noon is
don't make it
acceptable. No, I hate Irish coffee. It doesn't coffee. All right. Coffee and
Oh.
whiskey. All right. Coffee needs to taste like coffee. Whiskey needs to taste like whiskey.
I'll give
And
you that
steak
one.
needs to be medium rare.
Agreed.
Yes.
I love
Agreed.
you people.
But
Keep them on for
I
$2.
will say, Jack and AMW is really good.
What?
I've been-
Really?
I've
Oh,
been
God,
down that
yes.
road before. I've been down that. Okay, so we were doing what the hell we were doing? We were doing. I shit you not. Grey Goose and strawberry lemonade one night.
That sounds dangerous.
It's dangerous.
It's
But
just,
here's the thing:
it
you're
just
putting
tastes like lemonade,
electrolytes
and then
back
you wake
into your
up 2
body
hours
while you're
later.
getting hammered.
Yep.
There's no hangover. I mean,
Really?
you can get obliterated on Grey Goose, and I don't even like vodka, but you put enough. But with the strawberry lemonade Gatorade, didn't even taste the vodka. We were drinking iced tea glasses full of it.
Oh my god.
Up here in the Northeast, we have for medieval reenactments and Renaissance fairs, we have a drink that's affectionately known as swamp gas. And it's
Oh my god.
essentially every form of liquor
Oh.
that anyone brings to the campsite mixed
Oh,
with
dear.
Gatorade.
Ah. That's
Oh.
Your electrolytes up.
Nope, that's a young
Yep,
man's drink.
exactly.
That's
No,
a young
no.
man's drink. Can't come on for $2. Says show
That's
me.
a pee in the campfire
Show
drink.
you. Kikomon. Oh god, thank you, Kikomon, for the $2. Ultimate Kahuna for $1.99. A Marxist using anger to start a movement. What?
Say it ain't so.
That's not what
Never heard of
Marxists do.
such a thing.
It's not like they have
So-
been doing it for hundreds of years.
Yeah. No. Top Shots 11. What's going on, Tops? I saw Tops down there. That's he's one of my buddies that I actually met through my airsoft hobby because I love playing that. He's an awesome guy. For $2.
Hence
This
the
is
name.
80085.
Yes. Calculator boobs.
Mhm.
Oh,
You weren't supposed to tell him.
Why not?
It was,
because
I
they're
don't-
supposed to learn how to use a calculator. It's math.
and then
Oh,
you
okay.
turn it over and you go, oh.
Yeah, you rotate it over.
Which
and
the way that you actually did it originally was 58008, and then you turn the
And then you turn
calculator
it
upside
over.
down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Danny, what?
Oh, sorry. He's still
What?
talking.
No. You can talk. I told you it's your show. What's going on?
No. Let's hear these chats.
What?
We gotta get to the people who give you payola.
You make it sound so dirty. It's not.
No,
Dance,
it's not.
monkey,
Okay.
dance.
Okay, to get paid.
Of course it's dirty. It's money.
Money.
Look, you have got two busty gingers on your show. It's gonna get that way.
Yes.
Oh
and
shit!
I'm
I got
sober.
two gingers on my
Just
show.
remember that.
Yeah.
I'm sober right now.
Yes, you are, and you're still this
Oh,
spicy. Look at you.
Danny Diego for
No, I get
$5. Wasn't expecting commie bashing today, but it's a welcome surprise. The
Thank
only
you.
good commie is a wood chipper one. Hail!
The only good commie is a wood chipper commie. Yes.
Oh,
yes. And they're
I'm
still
gonna
red
have to
at
wear
the end.
that shirt.
Oh
And
my
they're
god.
still red at the end.
Oh my god.
Now I'm gonna have to get my
That
pedophile
needs
removal service T-shirt out.
that needs to be. I need to see that in a comic. I need to see somebody
Oh my gosh.
in a
Wood
comic
chipper?
feed a commie through a wood chipper and just the dude who did it just lights a cigarette, just American as fuck, and he just goes, "Still right at the end, I see." Like, just
Honey?
I need God, that would
Oh,
be
dear God.
awesome.
Here,
Are you
it's Friday.
Are
Go right
you
ahead.
serious?
It's amazing. Oh gosh.
Yo,
Okay.
That looked like Jim Beam to me.
Huh? It is Jim Beam.
Everyone's comfy
I-
now.
It
I
is
mean-
because you can make fun of me all you want. I don't give a shit. It is indeed vanilla flavored because
Oh.
at best in root beer.
That is very feminine of you. Thank you.
I don't care. You can make fun of me.
We're not going to make.
I
Oh,
understand.
I'm sorry.
I
Can
don't understand.
cuss on
I
this show?
don't like
know.
flavor.
I
with-
don't approve, but I understand.
No,
I-
and that's okay. That's okay. This is the party drink. This is not the relaxed drink. How about that?
There you
All
go.
right, there
By
you
the way,
go.
can you
All
cuss
right.
on this show
It's a
because
party.
I tend to get filthy in the mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course you can cuss on the show. I cuss
Okay.
on the show all the
Fine,
time.
go for it.
Just you're
The-
not
the la-
allowed. You're not allowed to use the F slur. You're not allowed to use the N slur. You can't use the offensive, the gamer words.
No,
But you know,
the
I have been
last
known.
show I was a little too dirty and I got us in trouble, and so I wanted to be polite. And I
So,
can't open this. Can you
I-
be a man and open it? Thank
RH
you.
Snow, I
Oh, look at
apologize.
that.
RH Snow, I apologize for what I'm about to say, but as an example, I have said cunt many times on my show before.
I don't care
So-
about the
You can
word
get away
cunt.
with that.
So, but yes, there are certain words. That's for the after show. We'll do in which we might actually turn our standard after show into a gilded only for like gilded
Oh my
supporter. We're talking about it. We're not sure how that works and how we transition over from one to the other, but
I
we'll
can't
see.
wait because I'm gonna let loose like.
Oh,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
drinking after dark.
Oh, dude, yeah, no. The Ultimate Kahuna for $1.99 just reacted to Missouri Breaks song. Buy it, y'all. That song is legit.
It is
Yeah.
so awesome.
Which one?
Midnight in Montgomery.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that he,
It's
said
so
that-
good.
dude. We played that on the live stream. It is really good.
Yeah.
When he was
Yes.
when Jared Christman was here, I cannot wait to see.
Jared
Um,
is a phenomenal guy. He
We're
really
gonna
is.
do when he releases that. We are going to do a private showing of his movie to my Gilded supporters.
Yes.
So if you guys are in the Gilded and you are in the supporter tiers, there's a $2 monthly tier, there's a $5 monthly tier, there's a $10 monthly tier, appropriately named Iron Age Guy, Iron Age Daddy, and Iron Age Booty Daddy, because my chat would have it no other way.
I am the booty
But
daddy.
you guys will get. We're working it out with Jared Crispin when he gets ready to release. There's going to be a private showing in my Gilded only for the supporters in the Gilded because that's going to be something special that I want to start working with some of these awesome creators. But, like, dude, the movie looks great.
It does. It is amazing.
So, Kikomon for $5. Oh God, Kikomon starting with the dad jokes. Damn it.
Yes.
I saw.
Get
I
after
didn't
it.
even read all of it. I read the first
Come
two
on.
words and I was like, oh no.
Come on. It's like a band-aid.
Let's
Just
go.
do it.
Yeah, I
Good,
know,
rip it off,
I know. And I don't even know if they're dad jokes at this point. I think they're just horrible jokes. How many men have the privilege to choose between a staying at home dad or a career? Women have a choice. Wait, what?
Oh, this is not
Is
a
that a
joke.
dad
This
joke?
is
Not a
an
dad joke.
observation.
That's a statement.
That's a statement. Roy
I
thought
thought-
it was a joke.
No, because usually Kikomon comes in with
Yeah.
the jokes.
He's being
By
so
this
let me
hour-
recontextualize my
By this hour, he's drunk and joke throwing.
I was not expecting that from Kikomon.
I do think
How
that
many
that is
men-
a good point.
Yes,
That
it
you
is.
know,
No, he's right though. I'm
Yes.
sorry. How many men have the privilege to choose between being a stay-at-home dad or a career? Women have a choice.
They do it, and I'll say
well,
a lot of it depends on your partner, but men don't usually get that option. They don't have that support.
I am going to say that I grew up in the 90s where women had to be everything. They had to be the mom and they had to be the career woman. And it didn't matter if their husband was working or not. All of the adult women that I knew, especially my aunt and my mom, all felt like they needed to be everything all at once, and they wound up failing at everything all at once.
Yes.
You know,
My
so
when
yes.
I think there's been a revival in saying that it's okay to stay at home with your children. And I think that's probably one of the only things that really came out of COVID that was positive is that people realized that children need their parents. And if you were at home, you could teach, you could be there. And we've seen a revival of that certainly in the last 10 years. But yes, you're right, because I was a young mother in the early 90s. I was a young single mother. And in 1991, I had a divorce and I had to take care of my family. And I couldn't make a choice to stay home. I had to be everything. And it was hard. And even when you were married, people expected you to go out and work. There's like, you couldn't any longer choose that.
Well,
we've sort of seen a reversal on some of that. And that's a good thing, I think. But it's hard on them because they don't get that choice.
It is. Yeah. And I totally understand. My mom was a single mom. So, for years she had to work and that is a hard situation, but that is a situation of necessity. That's not when she later, long story short, when there was opportunities for her to potentially stay home, she chose to continue to have a career, to the detriment of things. But we've got a wonderful friend named Janelle, who's our age, and Janelle has now a 13-year-old. Oh my God. But she stayed home with him this entire time while her husband works. And it is very obvious that his life is so much more enriched having, mom at home, and her husband's schedule is such that he can be there in the evenings with his son. So he can still be a masculine influence in his life. He's not in a job that takes him away for long periods of time, which, a lot of kids have that situation. So I'm very glad that there is that swing going back to more traditional roles, or at the very least, one parent in the home with one parent working. At the very least, regardless of the gender of that parent, it's important to have at least one parent home.
Oh
yeah. So
I agree.
I'm gonna actually share some stuff.
Do it.
Surprisingly,
it's the sharing circle. We give you the wand. You can talk now.
This is actually a good platform for it. So
it is. Wait, fuck you.
No, I'm just saying the conversation is relevant, and for me, relevance is important. So my mother was a stay-at-home mom. My father was a reverend, and he was home a lot. So me and my next brother, there's 3 boys. Me and my just younger than me, couple of years brother, were raised in a full household, and I became who I am, I think, because of some of that upbringing. But my youngest brother was born 10 years later than the second son, and at that point, my father had gone off the rails. And when I was 18, he committed suicide. So my mother was, thank you. My mother was on her own and became a single parent very late in life. She had 2 teenage children and 1 very young child. So she, from that point, built a business that she could exist on and afford to take care of us as a single parent in an unfortunate situation. But my youngest brother suffered because of it. He didn't have the same level of attention, the same level of care that me and my brother John did get in our youth. And because of that, I think that he made some really misguided connections because he didn't have the same connection that me and John did. And he's gone off. He has no connection with the family whatsoever. He hasn't for 7 years now. He's totally on his own, living his very liberal life with his very liberal wife. But I think part of that is because he didn't have the same stable foundation that we had, as much as I tried as a 18, 19-year-old boy who really didn't know how to be a man.
You're not a parent.
Right. But because he was my little brother, I felt like I had to step into that position that my father vacated. And, I may not have made the right decisions at that point, but I tried to guide him in appropriate, guy stuff as far as I understood it as an 18, 19-year-old at the time, which was wildly out of context. But that is a huge thing. And for me, becoming a business owner in the last couple of years, even though I was a teacher for most of my daughter's life, she had certain affectations that she learned from school and from after school programs that directly contradicted our home lifestyle. And they were very difficult for me as a single parent myself through it all to fight against. But now that she's 21, ever since she was 18, I've been a stay-at-home dad because I've been able to run my business directly out of my living room with this awesome chair. And, it's
not the same chair, I swear to God.
It is the same chair. It's just mad. But that's a whole nother story.
You bother me.
Being able to do that and be a stay-at-home parent as a guy has been an incredible thing. I've been able to navigate her social mores, and she's had a lot because she's raised in what I understand of the world, not what public education understands the world. I homeschooled her for most of her life, but she really pushed me to go to high school so she could have the social experience, and I relented to let her have it. But man, that was crazy time.
It is.
Having to have constant dinner conversations about how these people behave versus the reality of the world.
Yes.
And now that she's 21, she is a young woman who is not afraid to say you're wrong to people.
Good.
She's not afraid to lift her chin up because she knows I'm here.
Gimme.
That was something that Madam Snow touched on earlier. Having a strong male in her corner gave her the ability to stand up straight and say, I don't agree. Oh. It's been wild to watch her become a adult that has at least something of a head on her shoulders instead of, what we see most often.
Hey, she's got you as a dad, man. Like we've all gotten to know you over the last year, and
it's an incredible story.
I'm tame now.
I've heard stories. I've heard stories.
I want to say this, Dan. Go ahead, Kat.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you touch upon something that's very important, and that is, in the current world that we are living in, I know I'm repeating things that have already been said, but you have this concerted effort to not only destroy what it means to be female, to eliminate the feminine entirely, not even necessarily make it male, make the feminine a gender, but also to very much so feminize the masculine, and not in the best sense, not even the best parts of femininity, the worst parts of femininity. And so I think that it is wonderful that you can be that strong touchstone for your daughter, and I'm going to say it, hopefully for her friends as well, for her
Yeah.
friends to go, if Mr. Riley is like this, Mr. Riley says it's okay to do XYZ, for them to take those things and for if they don't assimilate it immediately, to at least carry them through to college, through their life, other things like that. That's very important. And so I wanted to get that important part out of the way, but I'm also going to say that does actually go back to Boobs of Steel, where you get into the differences between masculine strengths and feminine strengths, and that is a big problem nowadays, is that this push to blur the lines, which is very communist, going back to that, to blur the lines between the sexes and say, oh, we're not the same. No, we are. There are major differences in there, and that there are strengths and there are similarities, but that there are differences, and it takes, honestly, it takes a strong male presence to be able to bring out the strength in the young women in their life. And I speak from personal experience with my own father, where even though he wasn't around that much, I learned so much from my dad, and he did do his part to try to tell me that I could do anything that I set my mind to, and to do things like that. So I just, I wanted to link it to this because I am here for shilling, but also to point out the importance of your story, and how your audience, if they don't already know you, how they can take that into their own personal lives.
So. Well, yeah. And so many of us, go ahead.
The interesting thing about all of it is that my mother did remarry. I do have a technical stepfather, even though he didn't raise me. I was a full-grown adult when he came into our lives. And as soon as she got married to him, she returned to the stay-at-home mom lifestyle. That was where she wanted to be from the get-go. She did everything in her power to provide for her children when she was alone. And as soon as she reconnected with somebody and created another family unit, she returned to, factory setting, in her opinion, which is stay-at-home mom, taking care of the household, doing the yard work and laundry and all of that stuff that modern feminists rail about. Why can't you do your own stuff? She's like, I love doing that. I'd rather do that than anything else that anybody asks me to do. It's my favorite thing.
That's awesome.
Well, real quick. Sorry. I have to say, Raving Dad Gaming asks if the main character in Boobs of Steel smacks somebody in the head with their boob. This is actually nonfiction. So there is not, there's some metaphorical boob smacking, but no physical. This book, on the other hand, that
I was going to make a joke there.
he knew exactly where I was going. This book, on the other hand, has a chick fight.
Well, they don't hit each other.
Chick
They
fight.
don't hit each other,
I need to see chick fight. Whoa,
there's some cutting going on, and as you can see by the posturing, there's some boob fights. So there.
Oh wow.
And this is
what you're saying is
volume 2, but you don't have to read volume 1 in order to get volume 2. It's wonderful, and it's the spooky season, so they are Lovecraftian horror set in PI noir. So
what you're saying is you both like boobs.
Well, I kind of like, yeah.
We love ourselves.
Daniel,
we love ourselves, and we love our girls. So
that's right.
You lady. Well, RH Snow has already met my wife. Kat, you're not allowed to meet my wife. My wife seems to be building a friend group with the Iron Age ladies, and
it will happen.
Daniel, check your DMs on Gilded. It's part of the reason I was sitting here typing.
I turn it off.
I am part of your Gilded, by the way.
Wonderful.
He is not. I haven't shared the link with him, so it's not his fault. But I am a part of your Gilded. So
Raving Dad, I've actually written a few things that had autobiographical experiences, but getting hit with boobs, not yet. No.
Well, no, you just
okay. Good. Okay, guys.
That you're writing.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so see, it is written. It's just not published yet. So
For $2. Ram.
$2.
Say my name, Royce. Okay, and I because how I always say it. Ram! What's going on, Ram?
You know what? After you do that, I got a comment.
Okay.
Oh, no, not a bad thing at all. After that horrible experience Kat had at the convention where the
fuck those bitches.
Feminist told her to cut her tits off.
Feminist bitches.
With all the anti-boob sentiment, I decided screw it. I was going to put at least, if I could put it into a story, I always tried to include at least one busty character in the book. Mm-hmm. Always.
And one of the things I want to say is that because I've had so many friends that went through breast cancer and lost it. And the fact that they hear women saying this as if it's something horrible, and they're like, they don't grasp the meaning. They don't grasp what it is. It denigrates women who have been forced to go through this and to live with these conditions where you feel like you're losing something that's a part of yourself. They are making it into some sort of statement as if it means nothing, that everybody should just do it. And it takes away the importance of what it means. We're not necessarily created. We're not feminine because of our breasts. Our breasts are feminine because of us. And we have to be able to celebrate the fact that it's part of us. And if we lose it, we should mourn and be able to be
the attack on breasts is, I mean, as we said earlier, the breast nurtures and feeds, the next generation of human being. It is, and it again, we touched on the fact that this is a depopulation effort. So what greater thing to attack than the breast, which feeds the next generation?
Well,
if we remove the breast, they can no longer feed the next generation.
And that's part of it. And it's also the fact that they devolve everything into, if you don't have children, then you're not a woman. If you don't do these things, if you don't do all of these things, as a woman coming from a family that struggles with infertility and with miscarriage and loss and the constant thing, it is so denigrating to hear women or people say, if you don't have children, then you're not really female. So if you say that women are reproductive creatures, I'm still a reproductive creature, even though I've experienced miscarriage or I've experienced infertility. I'm still who I am. There's still the feminine spirit, the feminine soul lives inside of me. And I am not based on your definition of what I am. I am this human being. You cannot change me based on your own definitions of what you wish to be. And I will be myself regardless of what you believe my status to be, regardless of my fertility status or anything else. These two X chromosomes created in me a spirit that cannot be defined by mankind or by the forces of darkness that seek to destroy it. And it cannot be destroyed simply based on your definition of what I am. I exist even without this body. I am female. Even without those functions, I am female. And you cannot take that away from us simply by telling us that we must destroy ourselves or that we must define ourselves based on who they are. And so when we start hearing these people, cut yourself up, mutilate yourself, if it doesn't mean anything, then why are you trying to imitate it?
So what I was going to say about the symbolism and the fact that our brains are hardwired to recognize breasts, it's a loaded symbol. There's so many things that are just rooted back in our subconscious just by the image of the breast. And one of the things I point out as to why we're so fascinated with Amazons and Valkyries and warrior women is the duality and almost contradiction. Because if a man holds a sword symbolically, he's holding the power of life and death to preserve life or cause death.
Correct. Yes.
When a woman holds a sword, she is also a power of life and death. But even without the sword, she's a power of life, always. And that's one of the reasons they're so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not wrong. That is an extraordinary statement to make. And I think that we don't, in so many philosophies, especially with Eastern philosophy, with yin and yang, when we talk about the dark versus the light, and neither one of them are meant to cancel each other. Instead, they enhance each other. They increase each other's power. The contrast only increases the balance that yin and yang bring. And
the contrast is complementary.
Yes.
Ishi makes actually a very good point about yin and yang in
Book 2.
In book 2.
In book 2, there's a chapter about what is feminine power. And the example I choose to really solidify it is I bring up Taoism with the yin and yang, where the white symbolizes the male, daytime, direct, but the black represents the female. She's the night and she is water. Why? Because they are mysterious and because their powers are it's very poetic. That the power of a woman is that it's amorphous and fluid and it's not easy to identify.
Mhm.
And
It's
that
primal.
woman, what?
It's primal
Mhm.
Yes.
in a
That,
way that is very different from savage. That's
where a man would break through a wall, a woman could the water would just as easily seep through the smallest crack or become a raging torrent and knock it down.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, also with feminine soft power, water will slowly whittle away
right.
any barriers, and the feminine is has more tendency to do that.
I'm sorry. This fits perfectly. My mother used to say something when I was a kid. She used to say, "Your father is the head of this family," and she goes, "And as your mother," she goes, "I'm the neck." And she goes, "I can make the head turn wherever I want it to." and
holding the head up at all times.
And
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
No, and my mom meant that. And she still to this day. My mom but it is true. And what and when I was younger, I was like, okay, so mom's the neck of the family, so she's gonna make the head look. I'm like, why would mom do that? Why would and it's well, sometimes men, because sometimes we get it in our head that we're just gonna go, for instance, ladies and gentlemen, we have a neighbor. We have always been kind to this neighbor. They used to come over to the house quite a lot. I won't reveal all of the details here, but they're no longer kind to us.
Aww.
And they started shouting at my kids. And this lady happens to she happens to drink what all of us drink here on a Friday night, nightly by like 5 p.m. I almost wanted to go across the street, and I believe the exact words I believe my exact words. And my wife stopped me because she's the neck of the family and she could point me in the opposite. I believe my exact words that I was walking across the street to tell this woman, oh, by the way, in front of a party of her friends, was, stop being a bitch, you fat land whale cunt. That was going to be my exact words. I was pissed. I was also a little bit inebriated that night. I was not.
Don't do that.
I was not. Well, my wife was like, don't do that. Stop it. No.
Good, Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not happy. But again, sometimes, because dude, I was going to put signs in front of my yard. It was not a good, and here's my problem is I will actually, huh?
I said, what, land whale crossing?
Oh, I was going to put up a big ass sign that said beware of land whales, or bumpers beware of land whales, and put and put an arrow pointing at her house. I was pissed. I was not. And my lovely wife calmed me down from doing this because I probably would have started a war in the neighborhood. But again, I might be the head of the family, but every so often I need to be pointed in a different direction. And so, okay, I've got to get to the super chats, guys.
Oh, okay, and then I've got 2 comments.
Oh yeah, okay, 2 comments first, then super chats. Go.
Oh, okay. Comment number 1. Ishi pulled out the section in Boobs and Steel Volume 2, quoting from the Dao Di Ching. And it says,
Okay, nothing is as okay. You can here. You're better
yeah.
reading.
Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet, for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. Water is relentless. It never stops exerting its force. It's a manifestation of its nature. When it is restricted, water seeks the weakest spot of any obstruction and applies constant force until it is free. When it is pressed or attacked, it changes form and repositions itself. It exerts constant counter force to search for weakness. Water is opportunistic. Given the slightest opening, it will pass through. Water can be still. It can be sluggish. It can be swift. It can be pounding. It can be vapor. So that was
the description.
And that is the founding principle of Wing Chun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the reason that it is, because it is designed specifically for, and it's not for women, but it was designed to help women. And it's one of the reasons I studied Wing Chun was because it is designed to be that opportunistic water. And I love the fact that you mentioned that in there that way. That's such a poetic way of creating that picture of water overcoming stone.
Yep. Bruce Lee said it best.
And to go a couple of steps back to what you said, Miss Snow, about, what it means to be female, that just struck me as with all of these reports coming out of girls who were forcibly transitioned into boys before turning the age of 18 and are now of age and realizing, oh my God, this horrible thing has happened to me. And just reading their personal accounts of them missing their breasts, missing this signifier of femininity.
No, they're actually having phantom limb syndrome.
And it just what you said, I think they need guidance like that to help them through this point in their life. If anything, to help them get over this hurdle without killing themselves, because the suicide rate's going to go up. So
it's one thing that we have to understand, that this was child abuse. Someone cannot consent to abuse. I've been in discussions with many young women online that have gone through this, and some young men who are still going through, because this is a generation that was lied to. They have been turned into eunuchs, much like in the old in the days when Paul talked about many who are eunuchs. They need to know that there is a historic element to this, and this was abuse. They could not consent. They were lied to. They were taken down. It would not be any more their fault than it would be if they were sexually abused. It is not their fault. They don't have, even if somebody told them, oh, you want this, that doesn't matter. Children cannot consent. Once we release them from the horrible, onerous, overbearing people that come to them and say, you chose this. Once you take it back and say, no, you abused me, you led me into this, then you are able to say, this is not my fault. Not any more than it would be if it was breast cancer or any other thing. I've lost something I love, but how can I get back myself? You already are yourself. They cannot take it away. The spirit is what the spirit is. And once it heals, this body changes. This body degrades. I can already tell you right now that we as women will go through changes all the way through our lives. There are women who will lose their breasts. We lose our fertility at a certain point. Some of us never had it, but maybe we go through our lives without that child, but we still are who we are. You cannot change me because the knife has taken away what happened. And men and women who have gone through this, who are still that male and that female spirit, need to hear this truth. You are you. You do not answer to the people who would destroy you. Be you and never be ashamed. And if your body has been changed, the spirit still remains strong. And you will still have a life worth love, a life worth living. They cannot destroy the spirit within you.
Exactly.
No.
Super chat. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I hate having to do the hard transition to be like, and here's a super chat, because
no, you're fine. Do it.
Time and reflection on what he said, but I think the chat is doing the time and
reflection.
We have
to get dirty. We have to get down and dirty.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to get money.
All right, and there it is. Kikomon for $2. Next book, Chastity of Steel?
No. I told you, Riddle of Steel.
Riddle of Steel.
Yep.
Got it.
Riddle of Steel.
And this one came in as soon as R.H. Snow came in and started laying down the law. This is from Ultimate Kahuna for $1.99. It says, "Go off, Queen."
Thank you. I love it.
We have so affectionately called R.H. Snow the Iron Age Queen on this channel, which if you guys want to see her interview, it is Iron Age Nights number 18 over on...
That is me to do that. No, you're not doing that. This is a Shiro's night. You let him...
Oh, no. We've talked plenty about my book.
I will say this, and I say this with all due respect. It's my fucking channel. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
I'm sorry.
It's my
You're
channel.
fine.
I can do what I want.
No, but and that's exactly why I have Ishiro here, and why we're talking about this, and why I've been sharing the link to the Amazon all night to buy this book, because I think this. Yeah, I already added it into my Amazon list. This is gonna be one of those ones. I need to have the paperback because I need it in my house, in my vision, so I can see it. Kikomon for $100.
What?
Oh.
It's been a hot minute since Kikomon's done that.
Wow.
Kikomon.
Thank you, sir.
Kikomon.
R.H. Snow, one of the best expressed rants I have heard. Sorry, let me try to read this how he said it.
One of the
R.H.
best
Snow.
expressed rants I have heard. Woo! It is quite disturbing to see how women compete with each other when men don't give a damn about it. Those who do are the last ones who should try to attract. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Can I just have you here for all of this?
You've been working all night. I'm fresh. Let me come in.
No, you're good.
Good.
Good job,
Cat.
I'm drunk. She can do whatever she wants.
A drink with crazy. Okay. So,
crazy. Just call him Cray Cray.
Cray. Okay.
God damn it. No, don't start that shit.
Cray.
The book has more material than the digital because pictures and sidebars do not cooperate with Kindle. So there's actually some extra material.
Now we got to buy that too.
Like that.
Yay.
Yeah, people tend to spend money when they
Nice
come on my show.
formatting.
Thank you.
All right, Wrangler comes in and he drops a super chat for $4.20.
Hey.
That's it. That's all he does. No words, nothing. He just comes in, drops $4.20 and leaves.
Jeez,
Wrangler.
Kick him up for $2. Grey Goose, French imitation vodka. Gay. I don't know. All right, find me a real vodka. I'm not a vodka fan. I just know what people brought to my house that night, and we mixed it with Gatorade. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Actually,
I'm not a vodka fan.
Janelle is planning on making some potato vodka and sharing it with us sometime. So, no, she makes amazing mead. So if her vodka is as good as her mead, oh my god.
I'm a Scotch guy.
But
Kat said the magic word. How do I get my hands on this mead?
She'll
We're in the
be in the
Gilded
chat on Monday, or she'll be on the show on Monday. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Oh no,
my god.
Oh no, it's time for the mead. It's time for
mead. And she does like special blends. Like she was inspired by my favorite soda. Okay, have any of you heard of brainwash soda?
No, I have not.
Okay,
no.
You do not drink this for the flavor. You drink it for the adrenaline rush.
2 seconds. 2 seconds, because I want to catch this.
Okay.
And I know this name from Friday Night Tights if it's the same person.
Okay.
But it's one of their super chatters. Over on Rumble, Toxic Man Flu for $10.
I
bought the book. Best of luck, Ishi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very
That's
cool.
awesome, man.
you.
Thank you so much, Toxic Man Flu.
Toxic Man Flu. Yeah,
I like that name.
it's a
Toxic
great
Man
name.
Flu.
I've heard that name in a lot of I think he also very much frequents comics divisions chats as
Oh.
well.
Oh, he's got a great podcast.
Yeah.
Comics
So
Division.
sorry,
Awesome.
I apologize for cutting you off on that. Okay,
No,
soda.
that's great.
Talking about soda.
Brain
Okay.
Brainwash soda.
Brainwash soda.
I've got
Okay. Stay
four
with
more
me.
chats to get through.
Jalapeno flavored soda.
I've had jalapeno
Now
beer.
you're
It's not good.
speaking my language.
And the it's one of those things where the capsaicin takes a while to kick in. So your first drink, it tastes like nothing, and by the end of it, your mouth is on fire. When we were working on Titanium Rain together, that was getting me through 20-hour days. Was drinking this soda. So yeah, you don't drink it for the flavor. You drink it because the adrenaline rush and the caffeine keep you going. And I told our friend Janelle about this, and she goes, "I'm going to make you mead based on this." So she's making me jalapeno mead.
It's like Taki's Fuego in a drink.
Yeah, and it's jalapenos from her garden. So she's growing them.
I have ghost peppers for my garden. It doesn't mean I'm going to turn it into alcohol.
Yeah, well, she's doing it.
I want to try it.
Damn it, I do too, actually. I hate you all. That's why we need to do. That's why we've got to do the Iron Age barbecue. We've got to get everybody together. We're all barbecuing, and then we do a live stream, and then whoever's comfortable being on camera can come on camera, and we all just get obliterated with food and barbecue.
Spicy pepper
amazing.
and mead.
I don't want to hear you talk about spicy peppers. You steal all of them from me.
I do.
Your wife made the barbecue sauce, and now we have to have
it is so good.
It is.
I know. You guys are literally. I'm like, hey, babe, do we have more barbecue sauce? No, I sold it all.
Yay!
I sold it all.
To me.
She about slept outside. I was mad. I was mad. Come on for $10.
I think my total was 6
Super
jars.
Super chat.
Kikomon.
Get through them like they're peppers. Come on. Pop.
No, the peppers that I have aren't like that. I have 5 of the 10. Just so you guys are aware, I have 5 of the 10 hottest peppers in the world growing in our garden.
I know, it's awesome.
All right, Kikomon for $10. My favorite joke. God fucking bless it.
Kikomon.
What is the difference between a gay guy and a fridge? A fridge doesn't fart when you pull your meat out. Sorry for repeating. Jim Beam, hell yeah.
It's just I can't drink it straight.
The Ultimate Kahuna for $1.99. I think this is a sentiment that many people will agree with. Boobs should be displayed just like kahunas. Raving Dad Gaming. Raving Dad Gaming for $2.
Nurse it?
Says, bad guy taken down by boob smash would be awesome.
Well, I can tell you that there are instances where certain women with specific types of breast implants, they have to be the kind that are called gummy bear implants. It can't be normal silicone, but they have been able to survive car crashes where the roof caved in on their chests because the breast implants blocked it. Gummy bear implants are also they're ballistic. They will catch bullets. So if the woman has gummy bear implants, they are walking around with a bulletproof vest in them.
I would prove this for my friend that had mastectomy. I'm going to tell her, like, you need the gummy bear when you get it. Get the gummy bear.
Yeah, they're actually, the technology on breast implants is amazing. And yeah, if you feel like you need, enhancement, go for it. Cause just do the research. And the gummy bears, the reason why I know so much about gummy bears is because I found it fascinating when I found out that they don't leak. And I wanted to know how that was possible. And it's because they have the consistency of a gummy bear, hence the name. So you can cut them in half, and it just cuts in half. You're just cutting the material.
The bizarre things you learn on this. She watches all those weird ass medical programs.
Yeah, they're weird stuff for being a writer.
Okay, one more.
I like
one
the idea of ballistic boobs, though.
I know. I'm like, it's. I'm like,
have you seen
hey baby, got your boob job done?
Have you seen the meme with Wonder Woman and Superman where she's blocking bullets with the bracelets, and Superman's like, "You're invulnerable. Why aren't you just letting them hit you?" And she puts her hands on her hips, and her boobs start jiggling every time the bullet strikes, and she like looks at Superman, and then you hear the dudes firing going and they're like aiming at her breasts.
Yep.
Do you know the real reason she has the bracelets? The real reason for the blocking the bullets with the bracelets? I guess not. In the original, I don't think they kept this, but when Marston created Wonder Woman, he liked the idea that her main attack would be deflecting the enemy's attack back at them.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. That was the original reason for the bracelets.
Really quickly, Toxic Man Flu just became a crazy connoisseur. He is a member of the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Toxic Man Flu, dude.
Welcome to the community, bro.
You're in for a hell of a ride. And by the way, if you need an adult, it's fine. We're all adults here.
That's right.
Of course we are.
I have a piece of paper that says I am a responsible adult. I'm not sure that it's true, though.
I have multiple that say that I lied.
Oh, God. All right, this is the last super chat, and then we're going to do outros, and we're going to say goodnight to all the peoples with the last super chat, and I cannot believe I should not have invited the ladies on the show for this. I'm sorry. The last super chat is the ultimate kahuna for $1.99. Says, a woman controls the head with both hands.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
All I have to say is lip and tongue action.
Jesus Christ. Okay, what do you guys' bugs?
An appropriate answer.
Ishiro, go. What do you guys got?
Okay, you can find Ishiro and myself at 01publishing.com. That's the number 0, the number 1 publishing.com. You can find all of Ishiro's books on Amazon.com. You will find Boobs of Steel, Case File Arkham, Scars, and World War Kaiju. Yes, you heard right. World War Kaiju, the retelling of the Cold War, but with giant monsters.
Yay!
And Titanium Rain, the audio drama. Yes, this is the audio drama written, by Jay Ishiro Finney right here. And it nearly won an Audie, but it was bumped out by Neil Gaiman. Screw him. So anyway, but check it out today. It's really, really awesome.
On Audible.
That's
awesome.
Nice.
Good job.
This is RH Snow. Where can we find your stuff?
Go to flow.page/RHSnow. That's flow.page/RHSnow or watcherthedamned.com. You can get there and you can find the entire first series, Watcher the Damned, Watcher, all 6 books. As we start off from a man chained to the gate as a prisoner to leading the new Lone Star Revolution against the system, a world that is inspired by what would happen if the Georgia Guidestones became real, as those who would depopulate the earth decide that they will have their way, and what would happen to mankind if that really took place. And I also have started our second series, Watcher the Damned, Wanderer, and the first book just hit the shelves this week. It's Watcher the Damned, Trail of Travail. as our heroes escape the system, leaving purgatory and heading into the dangerous dark territory of the abandoned strip mine known as the Travail. And so you can follow it. It's a sci-fi Western romance. And we've got already 8 books. 7 have been published. The 8th book is in the works. And we also have our TTRPG and World Guide that's out there, System and Star. So I invite you to read it. 3 Prometheus Awards nominations on the series. And we are hoping we'll be entering the next season. We'll see how we do with that. But we love all of our readers. Thank you so much. And I know there's a lot of you out there. I love you all. And please check out Ishiro's book. It is one of the reasons I wrote this story was because I wanted people to see that men and women need each other and that humanity relies on us loving each other. And so please make sure that you buy Ishiro's book. Boobs, it's the only time you're going to hear me say that because I'm a Baptist preacher's wife. Oh. Boobs is steel, y'all. Yay.
All right. And Mr. Daniel P. Riley, you're going to have to wait a fucking second because Toxic Man Flu sent $2. Over on Rumble, he says, lip and tongue, are we talking about making hot dogs? Fucking shit. Don't do that to the chat, Mr.
Little Smokies.
It's especially funny to me because I used to be a knocker at a meat plant.
There's no way I can keep up with this. Yeah.
It's always
peak Iron Age nights right here.
It's always the women. The women always come in and they say the most heinous things. Like the men, I always feel like the men, we get a little rowdy. The women come in and they're just like, I'm like, whoa. Daniel, where can we find you, good sir?
Yay, Daniel.
I am Mr. DP Riley on Twitter if you want to reach out to me, but everything is localized to my whimsyland.org website. You can sign up for any of my coaching and editing and proofing and formatting and whatever you need to get your book created at whimsyland.org. You can also find any of my novels, Geese and I specifically, because that's the one that everybody seems to love the most.
It's gorgeous.
It is such a fun story to write.
Beautiful.
And as Royce has been constantly drinking from, Epic Loot, the pint glass or t-shirts or hoodies, whatever you want with some of the amazing art that my artists have created for me over the years. It's all available for wearable or drinkable merchandise.
I can now say that I've had 3 beers out of that glass that all taste better than they would originally.
It's magical.
It's such a cool image. That
It is.
The artist who did that is a local guy from Philly. He's amazing. I keep working with him because he's just.
You can buy pig swill, and
stuff.
this glass will make it taste better. So you should get this glass and save money by buying cheap beer.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
cheap beer, Epic glass.
I resembled that remark. What? Thank you all so much for being here.
Nice.
This has been an absolutely awesome Iron Age night.
Oh yeah.
I am so I'm so. I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time, and this was better than I thought it could have been. Oh my god!
Especially with the addition of the Queen of the Iron Age.
No, it's you all.
Well, hey, but Kat came in too. I know
it.
True. I'm glad Kat was able to jump on. We were still here.
Yeah. I mean, for once, it wasn't just like dude stank in the room. It was nice.
Our pleasure.
Well, I mean, you had that ladies' night
Sweat.
comic shop Wednesday.
Kat, you're not allowed to meet my wife. You would get nope.
It's inevitable, Royce.
I am aware.
It's gonna happen.
I know.
And we're
My wife.
Meant to be.
My wife is gathering all of the Iron Age women,
It's like
and
a
it's.
junction.
Oh, and I just want to say, go Wolf for life.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here. I think I'll be live tomorrow night playing the Star Shatter tabletop RPG. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if we confirmed that. But as always, I'll be live on Sunday at 11 a.m. Central for Sunday Coffee. And until next time, cheers, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
I love you.
Good night.